Chapter 279. Sigh. Subsequently, Ouyang Yuan sighed softly and said, Wei Zhe is an elder of the Sacred Institute. His position in the Sacred Institute is second only to Dongfang Ji. I wonder what his intentions are by letting Gu Tai spar with you. Actually, Ouyang Yuan had also guessed a possibility. Wei Zhe wanted Ningyu to become a core disciple. But very soon, he rejected this possibility. Because Ningyu had just fought with Yushan, he had expended too much of his essence qi and was not in peak condition. Letting Ningyu fight with Gu Tai, who was ranked second on the Sacred Institute's combat roll, definitely did not have good intentions. Ningyu, be careful. If you can avoid fighting with Gu Tai, try not to. Ouyang Yuan felt the need to remind Ningyu and said in a low voice, Gu Tai is very strong. Yushan could not even last 3 moves against him. In this world, before one's strength grows, some things are beyond one's control, Ningyu said in a deep voice after taking a deep breath. Swoosh! As soon as Ningyu finished speaking, Gu Tai had already landed in front of him. Ningyu, I have no other choice in this battle. Standing in front of Ningyu, Gu Tai said, You are not in peak condition now. I will give you an hour. We will fight after an hour. Humph! Gu Tai, I want you to attack Ningyu now. Wei Zhe snorted coldly. Are you not even going to listen to me? Wei Zhe, according to the rules, Ningyu is already a martial artist of the Sacred Institute. Before Gu Tai could reply, Dongfang Ji said in a deep voice, Furthermore, I announce that Ningyu is a core disciple of the Sacred Institute. Swoosh! Dongfang Ji's words caused a huge uproar in the entire Danwu Plaza. Core disciple? Dongfang Ji actually selected Ningyu to be a core disciple? One had to know that the Sacred Academy's core disciple selection process was extremely strict. Even the top-ranked cultivator on the Sacred Academy's combat rankings had failed to become a core disciple, let alone Ningyu. Ningyu had only defeated Su Shan, and Su Shan was only ranked 3rd on the Sacred Institute combat rankings. Although Ningyu defeated Yushan, it is not enough for him to become a core disciple. Could it be that there's something shady going on? It's hard to say. Maybe Ningyu has a good relationship with President Dongfang. The whispers from the surroundings did not affect Dongfang Ji at all. He continued, I don't think I need to tell you about the treatment a core disciple enjoys in the Sacred Academy, right? Damn it. Wei Zhe cursed inwardly as he clenched his fists gloomily. The treatment a core disciple enjoyed was extremely abnormal. The most important thing was that they didn't have to accept any challenges from cultivators that weren't core disciples of the Sacred Institute. In other words, unless Ningyu was willing, no martial artist on the Sacred Institute combat list could be the first to attack him. Of course, this treatment was only effective in Danwu College. Once they left Danwu College, who would care about this treaty? So far, there were 2 core disciples in the Sacred Institute. One was Zhang Tianwen, and the other was Ningyu. Zhang Tianwen was in closed-door training, and no one knew when he would come out. It seemed that no one could attack Ningyu here. Elder Wei, since Ningyu has become a core disciple, I can't fight with him today. Goodbye. At this moment, Gu Tai cupped his fists at Wei Zhe and immediately flew out of the fighting ring. Wait. However, before Gu Tai could move, Dongfang Ji's voice rang in his ears. Yushan is seriously injured. You will replace him in the next assessment. Me? Gu Tai glanced at the remaining real martial realm martial artists and asked in surprise, President, are you sure you want me to fight with them? It was no wonder that Gu Tai was a little surprised. He was very strong, and if he used his full strength, none of the remaining true martial realm martial artists could last more than 20 moves against him. 3 moves. As long as I can last 3 moves against you, it means that I can pass the assessment and enter the Sacred Institute, Dongfang Ji said indifferently. Dongfang Ji's words did not make Ouyang Yuan and the rest excited, but grave expressions appeared on their faces instead. That was because enduring 3 moves against Gu Tai was more difficult than enduring 20 moves against Yushan. Dongfang Ji, I don't agree to you letting Ningyu become a core disciple. Wei Zhe said coldly. Elder Wei, is Ningyu's strength and talent not enough to become a core disciple? Dongfang Ji asked, Furthermore, someone said that as long as Ningyu can last 30 moves against Yushan, he will give the core disciple spot to him. Ningyu defeated Yushan in 20 moves. Did someone forget what he said? Did he forget his promise? Dongfang. Hiss. Clenching his fists, Wei Zhe's reprimanding words were just about to come out of his mouth when he suddenly stopped and sucked in a breath of cold air. The corner of Wei Zhe's mouth curled up into a strange smile. He laughed sinisterly and said, "I agree to let Ningyu become a core disciple." Hearing Wei Zhe's words, Dongfang Ji frowned. He felt that something was wrong. Although he was a little puzzled, Dongfang Ji did not say much. Instead, he said to Fang Yuanzi, "The assessment will continue. As long as you can last 3 moves against Gutai, you can enter the Sacred Institute. Dongfang Ji, the core disciples of the Sacred Institute will represent the Sacred Institute in the 100 Academy tournament. You should let us see Ningyu's strongest strength," Wei Zhe said with a faint smile. "What do you mean?" Dongfang Ji frowned. "Haha, nothing. I just feel that we should do it according to the rules." With a faint smile, Wei Zhe barked towards the sky. "Come out. It's time for everyone to witness your strength." Buzz. In the next moment, space surged and a martial artist leaped out of the void. Oh no! The moment this martial artist leaped out, Ningyu realized that something was wrong. This was because this martial artist was speeding towards him. This martial artist was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of him and punched him in the face. Damn it! Feeling the violent wind in front of him, Ningyu's expression changed drastically. This sudden change was clearly beyond his expectations. He did not expect this martial artist to be so bold as to attack him in front of so many higher-ups of the Sacred Institute. Without much time to think, Ningyu raised his right hand. Suddenly, an extremely violent yuan qi appeared on the surface of his palm. Then, his fist carried a piercingly cold, murderous intent as he punched forward. Bang! In the next moment, the sound of 2 fists colliding rang out crisply in the arena. After the blow, Ningyu immediately retreated. He stared at the martial artist in front of him and shouted, "Who are you?" Although they had only exchanged blows in a hurry, Ningyu could basically conclude that his opponent was extremely powerful. He was not just a little bit stronger than Su Shan. At the very least, the density of his opponent's yuan qi was not inferior to his. Chapter 280. Most importantly, if you want to become a core disciple, you have to pass through me. When this voice resounded on the stage, the huge Dan Wu Plaza instantly quietened down. Who was it? Who was so arrogant to dare speak to Ningyu like this? One had to know that Ningyu was a powerful existence who had defeated Su Shan, and Su Shan was ranked 3rd on the Sacred Institute's combat roll. Dongfang Ji had already personally appointed Ningyu as a core disciple. In the Sacred Institute, who else was more influential than Dongfang Ji? Zhang Tianwen. It's Zhang Tianwen. Suddenly, someone shouted loudly and broke the silence. This shout caused the entire Danwu Plaza to be in an uproar. Zhang Tianwen? It's actually Zhang Tianwen. Didn't Zhang Tianwen die prematurely? Why would he appear in the Sacred Institute? You're too behind the times. Zhang Tianwen did not die prematurely, but entered the Sacred Institute and became a core disciple very early. Zhang Tianwen is a core disciple? That's right. Zhang Tianwen is indeed a core disciple. In the Sacred Institute, his position is only inferior to Dean Dongfang and a few elders. Hearing the whispers coming from the surroundings, Ningyu's heart thumped. He had long heard of Zhang Tianwen, but he did not expect Zhang Tianwen to be so powerful. Peak of the true martial realm. If he was not wrong, Zhang Tianwen had already advanced to the peak of the true martial realm. Against Zhang Tianwen, he only had less than a 30% chance of winning. Zhang Tianwen, you've advanced to the peak of the true martial realm. In fact, the moment Zhang Tianwen appeared, Dongfang Ji had already noticed, but he did not stop Zhang Tianwen from attacking Ningyu. He also wanted to see how strong Ningyu was. Through the previous attack, Dongfang Ji could basically determine that Ningyu's strength was much lower than Zhang Tianwen's. If both sides were to fight here, Ningyu's chances of winning were very slim. Ding Dong Fong, I have indeed advanced to the peak of the true martial realm. Smiling at Dongfang Ji, Zhang Tianwen said, before the 100 Academy tournament, I am confident that I can advance to the half-step origin core realm or even the origin core realm. Good. Dongfang Ji's eyes lit up when he heard Zhang Tianwen's words. Zhang Tianwen, who was at the peak of the true martial realm, was already so strong. Once he advanced to the Yuan Dan realm, his strength would advance by leaps and bounds. He might even be able to defeat a late-stage Yuan Dan martial artist. At the end of the day, the 100 Academy tournament was a competition between the strongest academies. With Zhang Tianwen and the recruitment of Ningyu and Danyu into the Sacred Institute, he was confident that he would surpass the previous 100 Academy tournament. Dean Dongfang, the core disciples of the Sacred Institute, are supposed to represent Danwu College in the 100 Academy tournament. Zhang Tianwen glanced at Ningyu and said calmly, "Doesn't make sense for them to be too weak. Ghost Li's strength is not weak either. He has repeatedly wanted to be promoted to a core disciple, but was rejected by you every single time." Zhang Tianwen continued, "If you let Ningyu become a core disciple, Ghost Li will definitely be bitterly disappointed." At this moment, Wei Zhe laughed sinisterly and said, "Dongfang Ji, in my opinion, let Ningyu and Zhang Tianwen fight. If Ningyu could defeat Zhang Tianwen, he can become a core disciple." "No way." Dongfang Ji flatly refused. What kind of joke was this? Zhang Tianwen had already advanced to the peak of the true martial realm and was extremely powerful. Letting Ningyu fight him? It was no different from asking for abuse. Besides, Zhang Tianwen had been in the Sacred Institute for a long time, and Ningyu had never trained in the Sacred Institute. The fight between them had never been fair. "How about this? Let's each take a step back." Wei Zhe rolled his eyes and stretched out 3 fingers. 3 moves. As long as Ningyu can withstand 3 moves from Zhang Tianwen, he could become a core disciple. In Wei Zhe's opinion, not to mention 3 moves, even if it was just 1 move, Ningyu might not be able to withstand it. The strength that Zhang Tianwen had displayed even made his heart palpitate. "1 move, we can only exchange 1 move." After pondering for a moment, Dongfang Ji said in a deep voice, "If Ningyu can withstand 1 move from Zhang Tianwen, he can become a core disciple." Ningyu might not be able to withstand 3 moves, but there was still a chance for him to withstand 1 move. After hesitating for a moment, Ningyu said, "Dean Dongfang, I have something to ask you." "Go ahead." Dongfang Ji said, "If I become a core disciple, can I ask you for a favor?" Ningyu said, whether or not he could become a core disciple, Ningyu didn't care. What he cared about was whether or not he could save Lu Wei. If risking his life to become a core disciple was of no help to saving Lu Wei, then what was the use of becoming a core disciple? Ha! As long as you can become a core disciple, the entire Sacred Institute will be your backing. Before Dongfang Ji could speak, Wei Zhe laughed. With regards to Wei Zhe's words, Ningyu directly ignored it and stared at Dongfang Ji. When he saw Dongfang Ji nod, Ningyu's heart was finally at ease. "The rest of you, leave the arena and leave space for Ningyu and Zhang Tianwen to fight." Dongfang Ji's eyes turned slightly cold as he said in a deep voice, "Swoosh, swoosh." When Dongfang Ji's voice fell, all the martial artists on the arena, including Wei Zhe and Fang Yuanzi, evacuated to the Danwu Plaza. As for Dongfang Ji, he slowly left the ground and floated in the air. The reason why Dongfang Ji floated in the air was that he wanted to ensure that Ningyu and Zhang Tianwen were not injured. After all, in 5 months, both of them would be representing Danwu College in the 100 Academies tournament. "Ningyu, I have to say that you're really gutsy." On the arena, the corner of Zhang Tianwen's mouth curled up slightly as he said with a faint smile, "You're the first martial artist I've faced after coming out of seclusion. I'm very lucky. I'm not like Yushan. I can pinch trash like Yushan to death with 1 hand. Don't think that you can withstand 1 move from me just because you defeated Yushan. I'll let you know that there's always someone better than you out there. All right, I heard that you're ranked 8th on the Zhang clan's wanted list. Even if I killed you here, no one would say anything, right?" Zhang Tianwen did not say the last sentence out loud. Instead, he opened his mouth and used soul voice transmission to send it to Ning Yu's ear. Middle stage grade 4 soul strength. When he heard that, Ning Yu's heart trembled, because the strength of Zhang Tianwen's soul strength had already reached the level of middle stage grade 4. Moreover, Zhang Tianwen's soul voice transmission was so brilliant that even Dong Fangji did not notice it. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu replied, "There are many people who want to kill me. Who do you think you are?" Zhang Tianwen was a little moved because he realized that the strength of Ning Yu's soul strength was comparable to his. He had a fortuitous encounter and spent a lot of effort to advance his soul strength to middle stage grade 4. What did Ning Yu do to advance his soul strength to middle stage grade 4? You still dare to be stubborn even now. The corner of Zhang Tianwen's mouth curled up into an evil smile as he said coldly, "Don't worry, I won't kill you here." Chapter 281. Rumble. Zhang Tianwen took a step forward and unleashed a monstrous aura. Hiss. Sensing the aura emitted from Zhang Tianwen, everyone in the entire Dan Wu Plaza sucked in a breath of cold air. Ningyu is in danger this time. Judging from the aura alone, even an early-stage primal core martial artist is no match for Zhang Tianwen. That's right, Zhang Tianwen is indeed a core disciple of the Sacred Institute. His strength is obvious to all. One move, Ningyu definitely won't be able to withstand it. Swoosh! The next moment, Zhang Tianwen stepped on the ground and slowly floated up. In midair, Zhang Tianwen stood with his hands behind his back and said coldly, "Ningyu, I've been in seclusion for so many days. Not only did I advance to the peak of the true martial realm, I've also successfully cultivated a martial technique. Today, I'll let you see how insane this martial technique is." As soon as the word "Chu" fell, Zhang Tianwen's hands quickly formed a seal. Buzz. As Zhang Tianwen's hands continuously formed seals, with him as the center, the surrounding essence, Qi, all gathered towards him and finally converged on his fist. Flower-scattering fist. With a low roar, a pair of essence Qi wings appeared behind Zhang Tianwen's back, and he immediately swept towards Ningyu at an astonishing speed. Zhang Tianwen's right fist crossed in front of his chest, and the friction between his fist and the air actually produced purple flames. Swoosh! Suddenly, Zhang Tianwen split into two, becoming two Zhang Tianwen. Swoosh! Swoosh! Very quickly, two split into four, becoming four Zhang Tianwen. Swoosh! 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 Immediately after, four split into eight, becoming eight Zhang Tianwen. The sudden change made Ning Yu's expression change drastically, and his heart sank to the bottom. Against Zhang Tianwen's flower-scattering fist, Ning Yu was not too afraid. After all, the essence Qi in his body was not weak, and in a head-on clash, Zhang Tianwen might not necessarily gain the upper hand. Illusion. The key was that Zhang Tianwen used the illusion technique. 8 Zhang Tianwen. Only one was the original body, and the other 7 were all illusions. Soul Force. With a thought, Ningyu quietly released his peak 4th grade Soul Force, wanting to detect which one was Zhang Tianwen's original body. However, Ningyu discovered that something was amiss the moment his soul power was unleashed, because he discovered that all 8 Zhang Tianwens were his original bodies. In other words, Zhang Tianwen could freely switch between the phantom and his real body. Dark Tyrant Palm. Gritting his teeth, Ning Yu's essence surged out from his body and wrapped around his fist. Unavoidably, it collided with Zhang Tianwen, who was at the very front. Bang! When the two fists collided, Ning Yu could feel the immense force coming from his fist, and he could not help but take a few steps back. Xiao! However, just as Ning Yu took a few steps back, his expression turned cold again. The second Zhang Tianwen had already arrived in front of him. Bang! He punched out again and collided with Zhang Tianwen's fist. Pucci! Compared to the first punch, Zhang Tianwen's punch was much more powerful, causing Ningyu to feel a sweetness in his throat as he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Ningyu. Below the stage, Xiaoyu revealed a worried expression. Believe in Ningyu. Although he was as worried as Xiaoyu, Sikong Ling stood on the spot and said solemnly. Not knowing why, Sikong Ling always believed in Ningyu. He believed that Ningyu could stop Zhang Tianwen. This confidence originated from the surprises that Ningyu had brought him time and time again. From the Furnace Cauldron Pavilion to the stage, Ningyu had fought with Wen Yi and the rest several times, and they all ended in complete victory. This time, Sikong Ling still believed in Ningyu. Soul-breaking sword. After stabilizing his figure, Ningyu shook his wrist, and the soul-breaking sword appeared in his hand. After taking out the soul-breaking sword, Ningyu injected all the essence Qi in one of the phantom golden cores into the soul-breaking sword. Then, in front of everyone, the soul-breaking sword suddenly pierced out. Chi-Chi. In the next moment, a powerful sword wave struck out from the soul-breaking sword and flew into the air. This sword wave even caused friction with the air, making a sizzling sound. Absolute sword wave. As Ningyu shouted in his heart, this shocking sword wave slashed on Zhang Tianwen's third phantom. Buzz! As soon as the absolute sword wave came into contact with Zhang Tianwen's phantom, the phantom instantly exploded and turned into nothingness. After shattering this phantom, the absolute sword wave still had a powerful force and quickly swept towards the fourth phantom. Crack! Immediately after, the fifth phantom. Crack! Finally, the sixth phantom. Crack! Damn it! Ningyu, I want you to die. 4 consecutive phantoms were shattered by the powerful sword wave unleashed by Ningyu. Zhang Tianwen's face turned very ugly. Cursing, Zhang Tianwen's remaining 2 phantoms merged into one and turned into his original body. Take my sword. After turning into his original body, Zhang Tianwen flicked his sleeve and a black flying sword appeared in his hand. Black Demon Sword Radiance. With a low roar, Zhang Tianwen waved the black flying sword in his hand repeatedly. In an instant, a shocking sword radiance that was not weaker than the absolute sword wave appeared in the sky. After the black demon sword radiance appeared, it seemed to be guided and directly slashed at Ningyu's neck. Black demon sword radiance. Looking at the huge sword radiance that was approaching him, Ningyu muttered. Immediately after, his eyes turned cold and the soul-breaking sword left his hand. At this moment, Ningyu put himself in a dead end and slowly closed his eyes. After 1 second, Ningyu's eyes opened with a swoosh. Solitary sword wave. These 3 words rang in Ningyu's heart. Then, a terrifyingly powerful sword wave erupted from the soul-breaking sword and instantly swept towards the black demon sword radiance that Zhang Tianwen had unleashed. This is impossible. Seeing the powerful sword wave from the soul-breaking sword, Wei Zhe's face turned extremely ugly. He could not believe what he had just seen, because even he might not be able to block this move from solitaire. Ningyu was only at the early stage of the martial realm. How could he unleash such a powerful sword wave? This is a big surprise. Dongfang Zhi's eyes lit up as he murmured. Originally, he was very worried about Ningyu's safety and was ready to help Ningyu at all times. Now it seemed that he had overthought. Just from this move, Ningyu and Zhang Tianwen. What? However, before Dongfang Zhi could finish his sentence, he seemed to have seen something terrifying and his eyes revealed a shocked expression. In midair, Zhang Tianwen took a deep breath and waved the black demon sword in his hand again. In an instant, another 3 black demon sword radiance swept out, and together with the first one, they blasted towards a solitaire that Ningyu had slashed out. Such a change was out of everyone's expectations. For a moment, the entire Dan Wu Plaza quietened down once again. Damn it, isn't there only one move? The current Zhang Tianwen isn't using just one move. After a short period of silence, Sikong Ling loudly shouted. Hearing that, Dongfang Zhi's expression changed. His figure flashed, wanting to stop Zhang Tianwen. Swoosh! However, before Dongfang Zhi could move, Wei Zhe arrived in front of him. Chapter 282. Wei Zhe, don't think that I don't dare to touch you. Dongfang Ji unleashed his aura and suppressed Wei Zhe without holding back. Damn it, being suppressed by Dongfang's Yuan Dan peak aura, Wei Zhe was a little breathless. After all, he was only at the middle primal core stage, while Dongfang Ji was at the pinnacle of the primal core stage. The difference between the two of them wasn't just a little bit. If Dongfang Ji really attacked him, he wouldn't even be able to block a single move. Quickly look at Ningyu. Right at this moment, Yuan Zhen shouted in a low voice. Hearing this, Dongfang Ji's gaze instantly shifted to the battlefield. Whoosh! Looking at the scene before him, Dongfang Ji instantly retracted his aura. In the center of the battlefield, facing Zhang Tianwen's 4 black demon sword lights, Ningyu's face was emotionless. He grabbed the soul-severing sword in his hand. Buzz! Then, the absolute soul sword swung back and forth, emitting a buzzing sound. Voila! The trembling did not last for long before it was covered by the 3 sword ripples. In midair, the 4 solitaires stood side by side, and opposite them were 4 black demon sword lights. The silence of the battle did not last long. In the next moment, the solitaire and the black demon sword light attacked at the same time and collided with each other. Rumble! The sword wave and the sword light clashed, and a powerful shock wave soared into the sky. Then, it exploded and spread out in all directions. Not good! Seal the stage. The sudden change caused Dongfang Ji's face to drastically change. He hastily retreated to the edge of the stage as his hands began to rapidly wave. As Dongfang Ji waved his hand, rays of cold light shot out from his wrist, completely sealing off one side of the stage. Whoosh! 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 At the same time, Wei Zhe, Yuan Zhen, and Fang Yuanzi flew to the other 3 sides of the fighting stage and sealed it. Chi-Chi! Just as Dongfang Ji and the others sealed the stage, a powerful shockwave arrived at the edge of the stage. Dongfang Ji was at the pinnacle of the primal core stage, and the seal he had set up was the strongest. The aftershock only lasted for a moment before dissipating. Fang Yuanzi's cultivation was at the early primal core stage, and his side was the weakest link. The strong aftershock was about to tear the blockade that he had set up. Xiao! At the critical moment, Dongfang Ji rushed to Fang Yuan's side and struck out a few palm strikes to stabilize the seal. Gulp! In the Danwu Plaza, everyone could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva as they watched the earth-shattering collision on the stage. Weren't Ningyu and Zhang Tianwen a little too powerful? The fight between them was even more exciting than the fight between early primal core practitioners. The fighting stage is shrouded in mist. I wonder who will win. I guess it's Zhang Tianwen. After all, Zhang Tianwen has been in the Sacred Institute for a long time, and his cultivation is higher than Ningyu's. It's hard to say. The strength that Ningyu has displayed is not the slightest bit weaker than Zhang Tianwen. Humph! If Ningyu wins, I'll twist my head off and let you use it as a chamber pot. On the other side of the arena, Xikong Ling's brows were tightly knitted together as he faintly felt that something was amiss. Just based on this move between Ningyu and Zhang Tianwen, Ningyu would definitely not be defeated. At the very least, it would be a draw. After all, the sword wave that Ningyu displayed was not weak either. It was even slightly stronger than the black, baneful sword light that Zhang Tianwen displayed. However, the fighting stage was now shrouded in black mist. No one could see the situation inside. If Zhang Tianwen attacked Ningyu again, the consequences would be unthinkable. No wonder you can be ranked in the top 10 of the Zhang clan's wanted list. So you have some skills. Inside the black mist, Zhang Tianwen put away his contempt and looked at Ningyu opposite him. I forgot to tell you, I was only practicing just now. I only used 50% of my strength. Twisting his neck, Zhang Tianwen continued. Next, I'll let you know what true despair is. As his voice fell, Zhang Tianwen's eyes turned cold. A powerful soul pressure swept out from his body. Middle stage rank, 4 soul force. Feeling the soul pressure from Zhang Tianwen, Ningyu's face was as calm as an ancient well. He flicked his sleeves and a powerful soul pressure that was not weaker than a middle stage rank 4 soul force swept out from his body. I already knew that your soul force is also at middle stage rank 4. Zhang Tianwen seemed to have guessed that Ningyu would display his soul force. He did not care at all. The corner of his mouth curled up, and he smiled evilly. If your soul force is only at middle stage rank 4, then no one can save you today. Because, at this point, Zhang Tianwen paused for a moment. He then took out a medicinal pill and threw it into his mouth. As soon as the medicinal pill entered his mouth, Zhang Tianwen's soul force instantly increased from middle stage rank 4 to middle stage rank 4, and it was still increasing. Peak rank 4. 5 seconds later, Zhang Tianwen's soul force increased to peak rank 4. Because my soul force is at peak rank 4, Zhang Tianwen continued, relying on medicinal pills to increase your soul force to peak rank 4 won't last long. Ningyu stood in the same place. He was not too worried about Zhang Tianwen's soul force increasing. Hee, you still dare to be so stubborn when you're about to die. Fine, I'll cripple your soul force first. After laughing, Zhang Tianwen instantly moved. His body appeared in front of Ningyu in an instant. Peak rank 4 soul force gathered on his wrist, and a palm was aimed at Ningyu's head. Dark dominating palm. Facing Zhang Tianwen's palm, Ningyu's eyes lit up. Without the slightest hesitation, Ningyu wrapped his soul force around his palm and counterattacked. It was unavoidable that it collided with Zhang Tianwen's palm. You dare to collide with my peak rank 4 soul force? I'll let you know what a flower is. Seeing that Ningyu dared to resist his palm, Zhang Tianwen's lips curled up. Just as he was about to mock him, his expression changed drastically, because he realized that the soul force on Ningyu's palm was no weaker than his. Your soul force has also reached peak rank 4, Zhang Tianwen shouted. It's too late to realize it now. This time, it was not Zhang Tianwen who laughed, but Ningyu. Damn, puffed. Before Zhang Tianwen could curse, he felt a fishy taste in his throat. He suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, he felt a strong suction coming from Ningyu's palm. Almost in an instant, 1/10 of his soul force was sucked away. How dare you devour my soul force? Zhang Tianwen was infuriated. He relied on his extraordinary soul force to suppress others in the Sacred Institute. If his soul force was devoured by Ningyu, he wouldn't even be a match for Ghostly, who ranked first on the combat ranking of the Sacred Institute. You're very lucky. Suddenly, Ningyu retracted his palm and quickly retreated, putting some distance between him and Zhang Tianwen. What's going on? Zhang Tianwen was puzzled. Why did Ningyu suddenly retreat? Soon, he found out the reason. Not far away, Dongfeng Ji, Wei Zhe, and the others transformed into numerous afterimages and appeared between him and Ningyu almost instantly. Chapter 283. Humph! Seeing Wei Zhe and the others appear in front of him, Zhang Tianwen snorted coldly and immediately flew away. Zhang Tianwen's actions made Wei Zhe a little dumbfounded. What was going on? Why did Zhang Tianwen suddenly leave? Could it be... Thinking up to here, Wei Zhe's expression turned gloomy because he guessed a possibility. Zhang Tianwen was at a disadvantage in his fight with Ningyu, but on second thought, Wei Zhe felt that it was impossible. Zhang Tianwen was at the peak of the true martial realm, and Ningyu was only at the early stage of the true martial realm. The difference between the two was not small. Even if Zhang Tianwen did not use his full strength, Ningyu could not defeat Zhang Tianwen. Ningyu, you blocked Zhang Tianwen's move? Wei Zhe hesitated. If you want to say it was one move, then just take it as one move, Ningyu said lightly. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that he and Zhang Tianwen did not just exchange one move. Now that Wei Zhe was lying openly, Ningyu could not do anything. After all, Wei Zhe was an elder of the Sacred Institute. How can you speak to me like that? Wei Zhe's face darkened as he scolded. I am an elder of the Sacred Institute, and you are just a core disciple of the Sacred Institute. How dare you speak to me like that? As his voice fell, Wei displayed his mid-stage primal core aura and pressed down on Ningyu. Elder Wei, anyone can see that Zhang Tianwen violated the agreement. After I blocked his move, he attacked me again. Yuan Qi surged out of Ningyu's body, and while resisting Wei Zai's aura, he said in a deep voice, "Although you are an elder of the Sacred Institute, you can't make me lie openly. I'm not human." Wei Zai was dumbfounded. Ningyu called him not human in front of so many people. Even an ant could not tolerate it. The next moment, Wei Zai stomped on the ground and was about to rush toward Ningyu. Enough. Right at this moment, Dongfang Ji berated. A dignified elder of the Holy Academy attacking a student? What a scandal. Go back now and check on Zhang Tianwen. Even if you don't say it, I will go back. Clenching his fists tightly, Wei Zai said coldly, "Ningyu is too arrogant. Recruiting him into the Sacred Institute will definitely bring a lot of trouble to the Institute. I advise you to be careful." Whoosh! Wei Zai's figure flashed, chasing after Zhang Tianwen. "Ningyu, no matter what, Wei Zai is still an elder of the Sacred Academy. It's a little irrational for you to speak to him like that." After Wei Zai left, Dongfang Ji spoke up. "You're right, Dean. I won't speak to Wei Zai like that next time," Ningyu replied. Dongfang Ji was speechless. Clearly, Ningyu did not take his words to heart. Wei Zai was an arrogant man who considered everyone beneath him in the Sacred Institute, and even in the entire Damu College. There were two reasons why Wei Zai was so arrogant. First, he had a strong backing. Second, he was the one who recruited Zhang Tianwen into the Sacred Institute. With these two reasons, everyone in Damu College would basically give him some face. Now that an exceptional genius who was no weaker than Zhang Tianwen had appeared, coupled with his own advancement to peak primal core, Wei Zai's status in the Sacred Institute would plummet in the future. "Forget it, just be careful in the future." Waving his hand, Dongfang Ji said in a clear voice, "Next, I announce that Ningyu has successfully entered the Sacred Institute and has become the second core disciple of the Sacred Institute." Swoosh! When Dongfang Ji's words landed, the huge Danwu Plaza was instantly in an uproar. Initially, when they saw Zhang Tianwen leave, some people guessed that Ningyu had defeated Zhang Tianwen. But Zhang Tianwen did not say anything, and they were not clear about the specifics. Now that Dongfang Ji announced that Ningyu had become the second core disciple of the Sacred Institute, the result was obvious. Ningyu should have gained the upper hand in the fight with Zhang Tianwen. Even if he did not defeat Zhang Tianwen, it was definitely a draw. This year's Sacred Institute recruitment is really full of twists and turns. Worth it. It's definitely worth it for us to come and watch the Sacred Institute recruitment. Luckily, we didn't miss such an exciting fight. Who was it just now who said that if Ningyu won, he would twist his head off and let us use it as a chamber pot? Don't mention it. That guy snuck away long ago. If you want a chamber pot, better go buy it from the store yourself. If not for this interlude with Zhang Tianwen, the Sacred Institute recruitment would have ended long ago. Zhang Tianwen's appearance delayed a lot of time. After a slight pause, Dongfang Ji said, "The remaining true martial realm martial artists don't need to participate in the Sacred Institute recruitment. All enter the Sacred Institute." Swoosh! Dongfang Ji's words caused the entire Danwu Plaza to be in an uproar again. Apart from Xiao Yu, Xikong Ling, and Zhang Zhaozhong, there were still 5 true martial realm martial artists left. Although the 5 of them weren't weak, only 1 or 2 of them could withstand 3 moves from Gu Tai. Dean Dongfang, Xikong Ling, and Xiao Yu aren't weak either. Should we? After hesitating for a moment, Ningyu still felt that he had to fight for Xikong Ling and the others. Before Ningyu finished speaking, Dongfang Ji said, "Xiao Yu, Xikong Ling, Zhang Zhaozhong, the 3 of them also successfully entered the Sacred Institute. It's just that, except for you." Speaking up to here, Dongfang Ji slightly paused before continuing. "As for the remaining 8 true martial realm martial artists, none of them are allowed to enter the Danwu pool." Hearing Dongfang Ji's words, Ouyang Yuan and the rest were slightly disappointed. After all, The main reason they came to participate in the Sacred Institute recruitment was for the Danwu pool. Now that they couldn't enter the Danwu pool, there wasn't much meaning for them to enter the Sacred Institute. After all, they were all top-notch geniuses in their respective factions, and the resources they enjoyed weren't any less than in the Sacred Institute. Bring these true martial realm martial artists into the Sacred Institute and arrange their accommodations, Dong Fengji said to Feng Yuanzi. I have some matters to attend to. As he spoke, Dong Fengji's figure flickered, instantly tearing through the void and leaving the stage. Behind him, Yuan Zhen also rose up from the ground and vanished. In the following month, if there's anything you don't understand, feel free to look for me. Feng Yuanzi waved his sleeves and took the lead, flying out of the Danwu Plaza. Let's go as well. Ning Yu didn't hesitate. He smiled at Xikong Ling and followed closely behind. As for the other true martial realm martial artists, they naturally followed behind. Under Feng Yuanzi's lead, the 9 true martial realm martial artists flew out of the Danwu Plaza for another 10 minutes or so before coming to a stop. Feng Yuanzi pointed ahead and smiled. This is where you'll be staying. Following his line of sight, he saw a clear stream flowing about 10 meters away from him, which was lined with lush greenery and shady trees. On both sides of the stream, there were groups of courtyards. The origin chi here is actually so dense. A trace of astonishment flashed across Ning Yu's eyes. He discovered that the origin chi in this region was extremely dense. It was at least twice as dense as the outside world. The left side of the stream is where the senior students live. If there's nothing, I advise you not to go over. Ningyu, what are you going there for? Chapter 284. Dequan, I want to see one. Dequan, I want to see one. On the left side of the stream, in front of the courtyards, there was a wide square. At this moment, dozens of martial artists had already gathered in this square. In the middle of the dozens of martial artists, a man in his 20s had an extremely ugly expression as he said coldly, "One has said that as long as I can enter the Sacred Institute, she will come and see me." As this man in his 20s finished speaking, the expression of a man in luxurious clothes opposite him instantly darkened. Slap! In a flash, the man in luxurious clothes appeared in front of the man in his 20s and slapped him. Accompanying the crisp sound was the indifferent words of the man in luxurious clothes. Yanhui, is one or something you can call? I'll give you one last chance. Scram back to your doghouse immediately, otherwise I'll let you know why the flowers are so red. Reaching out to touch his burning cheek, Yanhui clenched his fists tightly, a frightening glint bursting out of his eyes. However, just as Yanhui was about to lose his temper, a martial artist beside him suddenly pressed his shoulder and said in a low voice, Yanhui, I understand your current feelings, but we can't act rashly. Let's wait for Ningyu to come before we talk. Ningyu? Who is Ningyu? You don't even know who Ningyu is? You're too ill-informed. Ningyu is this year's Sacred Institute's first place. I heard that he defeated Su Shan and even blocked a move from Zhang Tianwen. No wonder these 2 new students dared to come here to cause trouble. So they have a backer behind them. They might have forgotten that no matter how strong their martial cultivation is, it's useless here. Hearing the whispers coming from all around, Yin Hui's expression turned even uglier. After distributing the accommodation, he came here at the first instant, wanting to see Meng Wan. Unfortunately, his whereabouts were discovered by Di Quan. Before he could enter the senior student's accommodation, he was stopped in the square by Di Quan and his men. Di Quan, I want to compete with you in alchemy, Yin Hui said loudly after some thought. In terms of martial strength, he and Yang Yu were definitely not a match for Di Quan and his men. If he wanted to see Meng Wan, there was only one way, and that was to surpass Di Quan in alchemy and completely suppress Di Quan. Did I hear that right? This kid actually wants to compete with Di Quan in alchemy. Is his head rusty, or has he gone mad? Di Quan is ranked 10th on the Sacred Academy's alchemy list. A freshman wants to compete with him in alchemy? Dream on. The Sacred Institute of Danwu College had 2 lists. Sacred Institute Combat Rankings, Sacred Institute Alchemy Rankings. The Sacred Institute's combat ranking was a place that recorded the names of those who were extremely powerful in the martial Tao. On the other hand, the Sacred Institute's alchemy list included some freaks with heaven-defying alchemy skills. There were even rumors that the top 3 of the Sacred Institute's alchemy roll could even concoct 5th-grade pills. Of course, this was only a rumor and had yet to be confirmed. Di Quan, ranked 10th on the Sacred Institute's pill roll, an early-stage 4th-grade alchemist. Upon hearing Yin Hui's words, Di Quan's eyes revealed a trace of ruthlessness. Immediately after, his level 4 initial stage soul power swept out from his body and crazily pressed towards Yin Hui. Feeling such a powerful soul power pressing down on him, Yin Hui's expression changed drastically. The soul power within his body instantly swept out. Pucci. However, Yin Hui's soul power was only at the peak of level 3. Facing Di Quan's level 4 initial stage soul power, there was no way for him to resist. Di Quan's level 4 initial stage soul power instantly dispersed Yin Hui's soul power, causing him to spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. Yin Hui, you trespassed into the senior student's residence. Even if I cripple you here, no one will say anything. Di Quan took a step forward, and his soul power became even more unbridled on Yin Hui. Di Quan, this isn't the senior student's residence, but the square for a fair competition. Seeing Yin Hui's miserable state, Yang Yu's soul power, which wasn't considered strong, was unleashed to resist Di Quan's powerful pressure together with Yin Hui. Hee, so you're not a hothead. You came prepared. Di Quan smiled faintly and said, fairness is relative. Only when one's strength is equal can there be fairness. For people like you whose strength and alchemy skills are low, there is no fairness to speak of. Since you've broken the rules today, you must be punished. As he spoke, Di Quan signaled to the martial artist beside him with his eyes. Dozens of martial artists understood and instantly dashed out, surrounding Yin Hui and Yang Yu in the middle. Moreover, the soul power in these martial artist bodies poured out in full force, pressing towards Yin Hui and Yang Yu without any regard for their lives. Although these martial artist soul power was not as strong as Di Quan's, with dozens of them added together, even a martial artist with a level 4 middle stage soul power would not dare to resist. Being suppressed by such powerful soul power, Yin Hui and Yang Yu spat out a few mouthfuls of fresh blood. Their faces became deathly pale, without any color. All right, I already know. Bring Yin Hui to me. At this moment, a low voice suddenly sounded in Di Quan's ear, causing him to be slightly stunned. After a short moment of being stunned, Di Quan waved his hand and said, stop. Bring Yin Hui to Senior Yi. As for Yang Yu, Di Quan paused for a moment, then said, throw him into the stream. Understood. Hearing this, dozens of martial artists instantly withdrew their soul power. Among them, a burly man lifted Yin Hui, who was already sitting paralyzed on the ground, and followed behind Di Quan, leaving the square. Another fat man grabbed Yang Yu and walked toward the stream. Senior, may I know how Yang Yu offended you? How did he offend me? He offended Senior Yi. The fat man said, what a hothead. Before coming here, he didn't find out clearly that there are 2 people in the Sacred Institute that cannot be offended. One is Senior Yi Tian, and the other, no, you are. Before the fat man finished speaking, his eyes widened. Looking at his empty palm, he said in surprise, who are you? Why did you take Yang Yu away from me? Looking at Yang Yu, whose soul power was weak in his hand, Ning Yu's face turned a little ugly. Yang Yu's soul power was only at level 2 middle stage. Being oppressed by so much soul power, he naturally could not withstand it. After probing Yang Yu's body with his soul power, Ning Yu's anger subsided a little. Fortunately, he discovered it in time. Otherwise, Yang Yu's soul power would never recover to its peak state. Closing his eyes, Ning Yu's soul power entered Yang Yu's body and began to slowly repair his damaged soul power. Brat, you are very arrogant. As he spoke, the essence chi in the fat man's sea of consciousness gushed out and gathered on his fist. He punched at Ning Yu's cheek. The fat man was at level 2 middle stage of the true martial realm. He had been cultivating in Danwu College for 3 years. Although his strength was not too strong, it was not too weak either. First, Yang Yu was snatched away by Ning Yu. Then, Ning Yu ignored his words. He felt that he had lost face. Since you offended me, I will let you know what it means to be. However, before he could finish his sentence, the fat man screamed and his body was sent flying several feet away. Bang! Chapter 285. Ning Yu opened his eyes and withdrew his soul power from Yang Yu's body. Looking at Sikong Ling, Ning Yu said, "Brother Sikong, take care of Yang Yu for me. I have something to do." "What are you going to do?" However, before Sikong Ling could speak, Fong Yuanzi's figure flashed and blocked in front of Ning Yu. "That's where the seniors are. You can't go there and cause trouble. Deputy Dean Fong, you have to uphold justice for me." Seeing Fong Yuanzi, the fatty on the ground hurriedly stood up and said, "It's this brat. He attacked me indiscriminately and hit me so hard." Glaring at the fatty, Ning Yu said, "Dean Fong, take a look at Yang Yu's injuries first." Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Yu rose from the ground and rushed toward the public square. Hearing this, Fong Yuanzi released his soul power and probed into Yang Yu's body. After a while, Fong Yuanzi's face turned cold and he said angrily, Damn it, these seniors are too outrageous." After thinking for a while, Fong Yuanzi flicked his sleeve and a token appeared in his hand. "Oh Yan Yuan, bring my token to Elder Hu. He will assign you a place to stay." Fong Yuanzi passed the token to Yan Yuan and said in a deep voice, "Without my permission, no one is allowed to step out of the residence. Otherwise, you will bear the consequences." Then, Fong Yuanzi's figure flashed, and he chased after Ning Yu. Looking at the token in his hand, Yan Yuan thought for a while and said, "Let's go." Actually, Yan Yuan and the rest wanted to go over and see what Ning Yu was doing. But they had just entered the Sacred Institute. If they went against Fong Yuanzi's words, they would not be able to bear the consequences. At the same time, Di Quan looked at the young man in front of him and said in a deep voice, "You're really bold. Let Yan Hui go." Ning Yu's face was expressionless as he said indifferently, "Ha ha," as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Di Quan faced the sky and let out a wild laugh. Soon after, he said in a cold voice, "If you want me to release Yan Hui, why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? See what kind of person you are. It doesn't matter what kind of person I am. What's important is that Yan Hui didn't offend you." Ning Yu wasn't angry either. "You're right. Yan Hui did not offend me." The corner of Di Quan's mouth curled up as he said, "To tell you the truth, he fell in love with someone he shouldn't have." "Someone you shouldn't like?" Raising his eyebrows, Ning Yu said without batting an eyelid, "There's nothing wrong with liking someone. It's Yan Hui's right to like someone. You have no right to interfere. F***CK. I gave you face, but you don't want it? Truly a thing born, but raised by no one." Beside Di Quan, a tall and skinny man berated. The moment the tall, skinny man finished speaking, he suddenly felt his body become light, and he directly flew up. Bang! The sound of flesh hitting the ground resounded in the area. Arg! The tall, skinny man hugged his legs with both hands and let out a miserable shriek like a pig being slaughtered. "Ning Yu, to injure my man in front of me. Aren't you not giving me face too much?" Di Quan's expression was very ugly. Originally, he thought that no matter how arrogant Ning Yu was, he would not dare to make a move in front of him. Looking at it now, he was wrong, ridiculously wrong. Not only was Ning Yu arrogant, but he was arrogant to the extreme. However, Ning Yu's move earlier was very fast, so fast that he did not notice any inkling, which also meant that Ning Yu's strength was much stronger than his. Just based on martial arts strength, he was not Ning Yu's match. Rolling his eyes, Di Quan's expression returned to normal as he said coolly, "Ning Yu, it's not impossible to save Yan Hui, but you have to do it according to the rules. Only with strength can there be rules. Without strength, there are no rules." His entire body's aura was unleashed, pressing towards Di Quan frenziedly. Ningyu said coldly, "Release Yanhui. Otherwise, don't blame me for not being courteous. Just entered the Sacred Institute and already so insolent. In another 2 years, how terrible will it be?" Suddenly, a loud yell sounded. Following that, a figure approached from afar, appearing in front of Ningyu in an instant. At the same time, this figure threw a punch, bringing with it a violent gust of wind towards Ningyu's cheek. His eyes turned cold. Ningyu's right hand clenched into a fist and collided with the fist in front of him with no way to avoid. Bang! 2 fists collided. With the fist as the center, a terrifying to the extreme wind spread out frenziedly towards the surroundings. After the blow, Ningyu retreated several steps before stabilizing his figure. Rubbing his swollen fist, Ningyu said in a low voice, "Elder Wei, why did you attack me?" The cultivator in front of Ningyu was none other than Elder Wei, who had opposed him on the battle stage. Wei Zhe. Nothing? That doesn't make sense. How could this kid withstand my 5th grade soul force? Although he was a little surprised, Wei Zhe did not show it on his face. Instead, he scolded, "It's fine if you were arrogant on the battle stage, but this is the Sacred Institute. It's not a place for you to behave atrociously." Elder Wei, when did Ningyu become so arrogant? At this time, Feng Yuanzi also arrived. Shielding Ningyu behind him, he said in a low voice, "If the dean finds out that you attacked Ningyu, I'm afraid it won't be too good." "Oomph. Don't use Dongfang Ji to pressure me." Wei Zhe snorted coldly and said, "As the head elder of the Sacred Institute, do you have any objections to me teaching Ningyu a lesson?" Wei Zhe had just found out from Zhang Tianwen that Ningyu's soul force was very strong. It was even comparable to Zhang Tianwen's. Zhang Tianwen's soul force was the middle stage 4th grade. Didn't that mean that Ningyu's soul force had also reached the middle stage 4th grade? Moreover, with the powerful strength that Ningyu displayed, after a period of time, Zhang Tianwen's peerless genius title would probably change hands. Wei Zhe still wanted to rely on Zhang Tianwen to seize the position of the dean of the Sacred Institute. Now, that there was a freak that was even more heaven-defying than Zhang Tianwen, how could he tolerate it? Seeing that Ningyu attacked in the senior students area, Wei Zhe felt that the opportunity had come. The opportunity to suppress Ningyu had come. "Elder Wei, even if you want to teach me a lesson, you should let me know the reason first." After driving the 5th grade soul force that Wei Zhe left in his body to a corner of his consciousness, Ningyu said in a low voice, "Reason? You want to know the reason?" Wei Zhe pointed at the tall, thin man on the ground and said darkly, "This is the senior students area. You attacked unscrupulously here and even injured a senior student. This is the reason. Moreover, I only used 1/10 of my strength just now. It's already considered to be extremely benevolent, all for the sake of helping you turn over a new leaf. Now, it seems that you still haven't come to your senses. If you still refuse to come to your senses, I need to— Elder Wei, I want to ask you a question." Before Wei Zhe's voice faded, Ningyu waved his hand and said, "Oh, you still want to ask me a question? Ask away, lest others say that I'm bossy." Being interrupted by Ningyu, Wei Zhe was very angry, but he did not lose his temper. Instead, Wei Zhe cupped his fists and said with interest, "If I scold you for being a thing that no one raised, what will you do?" Chapter 286. When Ningyu's words rang out in the area, the surrounding warriors fell silent. Who was Wei Zhe? He was the chief elder of the Sacred College, second only to Dongfang Ji. For Ningyu to say such things in front of Wei Zhe, did he not respect Wei Zhe at all? Isn't Ningyu a little too daring? This is going to be interesting. Elder Wei is not someone to be trifled with. That's right. Ningyu will pay for his arrogance. The surrounding martial artists didn't dare to speak loudly, all of them muttering to themselves. They had all entered the Sacred College a long time ago and naturally knew Wei Zhe's character. In the past, there was a warrior in the top 5 of the combat list of the Sacred College who had offended Wei Zhe and was beaten up and thrown out of the Sacred College. Now that Ningyu was making insinuations, he would most likely meet a tragic end. Crack, crack. Wei Zai's knuckles cracked as he clenched his fists. His expression was extremely dark, arrogant, and disrespectful. I will teach you a lesson on behalf of your parents today. As soon as he finished speaking, Wei Zai rose from the ground, his body turning into a blur as he appeared in front of Ningyu in an instant. His right hand brought with it a violent gust of wind as he punched towards Ningyu's face. Wei Zai's attack was heavy, and the gust of wind from his fist was at the mid-primal core stage. In other words, he was not holding back at all. Wei Zai was a mid-primal core stage warrior. When he attacked with all his might, even an early primal core warrior would have to avoid him, much less Ningyu. Therefore, the moment Wei Zai attacked, the surrounding warriors once again let out a wave of exclamations. Elder Wei is really angry. He's attacking with all his might. Could it be that Elder Wei wants to kill Ningyu? I don't think so. After all, Ningyu is a student of the Sacred College and a core disciple. If Elder Wei kills him here, Headmaster Dongfang will definitely not sit idly by. Even if he doesn't die, Ningyu will definitely be bedridden for several months. If I were Ningyu, I would run away immediately. There's still a chance. Run? In the hands of Elder Wei, he hurriedly ran away. What? Ningyu is not running? After a series of exclamations, everyone stared in shock at the scene before them. There were even some cultivators who stood rooted to the ground. Ningyu's eyes turned cold, and the violent primordial qi in his sea of consciousness surged out and gathered on his fist. Then, under everyone's astonished gazes, it inevitably collided with Wei Zai's fist. Bang! The crisp sound of fists colliding resounded in the area. Whoosh! Whoosh! Then, a silhouette quickly retreated. It only stabilized itself after retreating several feet. As for the other figure, he stood there with a gloomy expression. A mid-primordial core cultivator is indeed powerful. Ningyu's expression turned serious as he looked at Wei Zai, who had not moved an inch. He had used almost all his strength in that blow, but he had still not gained the upper hand against Wei Zai. Furthermore, he was at a disadvantage. After secretly comparing the strength of both sides, Ningyu relaxed slightly. Although Wei Zai was powerful, he still had a trump card that he had not used. That was the sixth technique of the 9 purities sword technique, Solitaire. Ningyu believed that once he used Solitaire, it would not be easy for Wei Zai to kill him. At this thought, Ningyu said calmly, "Elder Wei, I was just stating the facts. The tall, skinny man called me a useless thing. It's not too much for me to teach him a lesson, right? If this wasn't the Sacred Institute, the tall, skinny man would have been decapitated. You're still so stubborn. Ningyu, I have to wake you up." Wei Zai was surprised that his blow had not severely injured Ningyu. But today was the perfect opportunity to severely injure Ningyu. He had to seize it, because if he missed this opportunity, he would not get it again. Wei Zai, don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you're an elder of the Sacred Institute. Ningyu's temper flared as he said coldly, "You think you can be an elder of the Sacred Institute just because you're old? What? You're saying I'm old?" Wei Zai's eyes widened as he could not believe his ears. "I dare you to say that again. I didn't think that my ears would be a little deaf when I'm old." Shrugging, Ningyu said lightly, "I said you're old. I have to take Yin Hui away today." "Good, very good." At this moment, Wei Zai was surprisingly calm, so calm that it was scary. With Wei Zai's calmness, the temperature in the area seemed to have dropped significantly. After a while, Wei Zai said to Di Quan, "Don't worry. I want to see who has the capability to snatch Yin Hui away from your hands today." "Elder Wei, is there some misunderstanding?" Just then, Fang Yuanzi said, "Ningyu is a core disciple." Before Fang Yuanzi could finish his sentence, Wei Zai interrupted him and said coldly, "Is he worthy of being a core disciple? Today, I'll teach him a lesson and let him know the immensity of heaven and earth." As soon as he said the word immensity, Wei Zai's body shook. All the soul power in his body gushed out unscrupulously and suppressed towards Ningyu. Damn it! Seeing Wei Zai's soul power gushing out, Fang Yuanzi cursed in his heart. The soul power in his body also gushed out in an instant and blocked in front of Ningyu. Fang Yuanzi was very clear that Wei Zhe's soul power had reached the pinnacle of grade 5. Once Ning Yu was suppressed by him, the consequences would be disastrous. In the best-case scenario, his soul power would be severely damaged. In the worst-case scenario, he would become a fool. Pucci. However, Fang Yuanzi was powerless. His soul power was only at the early stage of grade 5. Compared to Wei Zhe, it was much weaker. He only lasted for a short while before he was defeated. Without Fang Yuanzi's soul power to block, Wei Zhe's peak grade 5 soul power rushed to Ning Yu's side without any resistance. Soul-breaking sword. At the critical moment, Ning Yu shook his wrist, and the soul-breaking sword appeared in his hand. Swoosh! Swoosh! He slashed out several sword rays, all of which were aimed at Wei Zhe's soul power. The soul-breaking sword was a devouring flying sword, so it had a unique sensitivity to soul power. However, Ning Yu didn't dare to expose the soul-breaking sword in front of so many people and expose that it could devour Wei Zhe's soul power. Old fart, I devoured the soul power of a grade 6 alchemist from a corpse sect. How can your peak grade 5 soul power be a threat to me? The phantom armor appeared on the surface of his skin. Ning Yu's speed was pushed to the limit, and he retreated a few steps in the blink of an eye. At the same time, Ning Yu quietly injected his peak grade 4 soul power into the soul-breaking sword. While retreating, he dealt with Wei Zhe's soul power. Relying on his flexible movements and super control of soul power, even when facing Wei Zhe's peak grade 5 soul power, Ning Yu was still not at a disadvantage. Even Ning Yu gave everyone an illusion that he was playing a monkey. Ning Yu was a monkey, and Wei Zhe was a monkey. Ning Yu, do you only know how to dodge? Wei Zhe didn't expect Ning Yu's speed to be so fast, and was stunned for a moment. Chapter 287. Not good. In the face of Wei Zhe's mid-primal Korean aura, Ning Yu's expression changed. After all, he was only at the early stage of the real martial realm. It was already very good for him to resist Wei Zhe's peak 5th grade soul power. It would be difficult for him to resist Wei Zhe's mid-primal Korean aura. Absolute sword wave. Since it was difficult to resist Wei Zhe's powerful aura, Ning Yu simply did not resist it. Instead, he waved the absolute soul sword in his hand quickly and displayed the 5th move of the supreme 9 purities sword technique, absolute sword wave. As Ning Yu shouted, a shocking sword wave swept out from the absolute soul sword. The sword wave paused in the air for a moment before it slashed towards Wei Zhe with all its might. Oomph. If you did not resist, I might have shown mercy. Since you have chosen to resist, don't blame me. With a cold snort, Wei Zhe's eyes revealed a touch of coldness as he threw a punch at the absolute sword wave. Chi. Wei Zhe's fist contained a strong fluctuation of yuan qi. When it came into contact with the absolute sword wave, there was a burst of chi sound. However, what Wei Zhe expected did not happen. The absolute sword wave was not shattered by his fist aura. On the contrary, his fist aura only lasted for a moment before it was defeated by the absolute sword wave. Swoosh! Immediately, the absolute sword wave appeared in front of Wei Zhe like a wild horse that had broken free of its reins. Moreover, the absolute sword wave gradually expanded in front of Wei Zhe's eyes and finally blasted fiercely on his chest. Bang! The huge force from his chest caused Wei Zhe's expression to change drastically. He hurriedly retracted his mid-primal Korean aura and peak 5th grade soul power. Buzz buzz. After all, Wei Zhe was a mid-primal Korean cultivator. When he retracted his aura and soul power, he instantly shattered the absolute sword wave. Ning Yu, it is not impossible for you to take Yin Hui away. After shattering the absolute sword wave, Wei Zhe said in a low voice, "This is a fair competition square. As long as you can win the competition, you can naturally take Yin Hui away." Oh, Wei Zhe's sudden action made Ning Yu a little puzzled. Why did Wei Zhe suddenly change his mind at this time? Could it be that he was up to something again? Soon, Ning Yu stopped thinking about it. No matter what Wei Zhe did, Wei Zhe would not budge. Seeing that there wasn't much of a reaction from Ning Yu, Wei Zhe continued. In terms of martial strength, you've already defeated Su Shan, who's ranked 3rd on the Sacred Academy rankings. You've already proven yourself, so there's no meaning in competing in terms of martial strength. As a core disciple, not only must one's martial arts strength be top-notch, their alchemy attainments cannot be too low either. At the very least, they must be in the top 5 of the Sacred Institute's alchemy list. Di Quan is ranked 10th on the Sacred Institute's alchemy list. You and him will have an alchemy competition. Pointing at Di Quan, Wei Zhe said indifferently, if you win, take Yin Hui away. If you lose, Yin Hui will be punished. Looking at Yin Hui in Di Quan's hands, Ningyu said, Wei Zhe, what did Yin Hui do wrong? Why should I be punished? What did I do wrong? Trespassing into the seniors' region. This is wrong. Wei Zhe said in a cold voice. You just said that this is a fair competition arena, not the seniors' region. Ningyu said, a dignified Sacred Institute elder being so biased towards seniors. One can't help but suspect that there's some shady deal involved. I'm biased towards seniors? Pointing at his nose, Wei Zhe berated, why don't you go ask around? Wei Zhe, have always been known for being fair in the Sacred Institute. As he spoke, Wei Zhe's gaze swept across the surrounding martial artists. Seeing Wei Zhe's gaze, the surrounding martial artists felt a chill in their hearts, hurriedly discussing. Elder Wei has a very good reputation in the Sacred Institute, always known for being fair and just. Yeah, Elder Wei is upright and plain-spoken, never lowering his head to evil forces. Ningyu, a freshman, slandered Elder Wei like this. What's your intention? This batch of freshmen is too arrogant. We must teach them a lesson. The martial artists who spoke were all seniors, most of whom were brought by Di Quan. Since Wei Zhe was siding with Di Quan, they would definitely not go against him. Therefore, Ningyu treated their words as nonsense and did not take them to heart. There's no fairness without strength. Sighing inwardly, Ningyu turned to Wei Zhe and said, Tell me, how do we bet? Hee, that's more like it. The corners of Wei Zhe's lips curled up. He flicked his sleeves, and a storage bag appeared in his hand. Waving the storage bag in his hand, Wei Zhe said, There are 2 sets of ingredients for refining a 3-mark pill in here. The rules are simple. You and Di Quan will refine pills at the same time. Whoever refines a 3-mark pill first wins. A 3-mark pill. That's a 4th-grade pill. An ordinary 4th-grade pill refiner would find it difficult to successfully refine one. Senior brother Di Quan is a 4th-grade pill refiner. Refining a 3-mark pill shouldn't be a problem. No matter how strong Ningyu is, he can't possibly be a 4th-grade pill refiner. So, senior brother Di Quan has already won this battle before it even begins. Undisguised praises came from all around, causing Di Quan to reveal an evil smile. Taking a step forward, Di Quan took out the alchemy cauldron he always carried with him. Meteor Alchemy Cauldron, ranked 15th on the ranking list of men. Senior brother Di Quan is indeed a 4th-grade pill refiner. He even managed to get his hands on the 15th ranked Meteor Alchemy Cauldron. With the Meteor Alchemy Cauldron, senior brother Di Quan will be able to refine a 3-mark pill without breaking a sweat. Seeing the alchemy cauldron in Di Quan's hand, the crowd once again exclaimed in surprise. Everyone's eyes widened as they stared at the alchemy cauldron that was emitting a golden glow. Just then, Ningyu flicked his wrist, and an alchemy cauldron the size of a palm appeared above his head. Seeing the alchemy cauldron above Ningyu's head, the crowd could not help but laugh. This is considered an alchemy cauldron? It's clearly a piece of scrap metal. Judging from the alchemy cauldron alone, Ningyu has already lost. Moreover, he has lost thoroughly. Using this alchemy cauldron, if Ningyu can refine a 3-mark pill, I will twist my head off. Wei Zhe's reaction was different from the rest. His soul force had reached the peak of 5th grade, so he could vaguely sense that something was amiss. Unknowingly, he felt that the alchemy cauldron above Ningyu's head was not simple. Forget it. Even if he has an alchemy cauldron ranked in the top 10 of the man ranking, it's impossible for him to refine a 3-mark pill before Di Quan. Wei Zhe shook his head and did not think too much about it. He knew very well that Di Quan had refined a 3-mark pill many times. Back when he was trying to get into the top 10 of the Sacred Institute's pill ranking, Di Quan only spent 20 minutes to refine a 3-mark pill, obtaining the 10th place in the Sacred Institute's pill ranking. It could be said that even Wei Zhe did not have absolute confidence in defeating Di Quan in refining a 3-mark pill. This was originally an alchemy competition that Di Quan was certain to win. Thinking of this, Wei Zhe said, "Ningyu, a simple alchemy competition is not interesting. Why don't we increase the stakes?" Hearing Wei Zhe's words, Ningyu was slightly stunned. Chapter 288. Hee, it's more interesting to raise the stakes. With a smile, Wei Zhe said, "As long as you could defeat Di Quan, I will compensate you however many yuan crystals you have. If you fail, I don't want your yuan crystals. You just need to give me the cauldron." Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. He had been too careless. The Cauldron Quenching Cauldron was ranked 50th on the Cauldron Earth list and was priceless. To prevent others from noticing the difference in the Cauldron Quenching Cauldron, Ningyu had already made some adjustments to the cauldron, suppressing its aura slightly. Now, it seemed that with Wei Zhe's peak grade 5 soul strength, he could still see some clues from the Cauldron Quenching Cauldron's aura. "All right, this is all I have." After pondering for a moment, Ningyu seemed to have made up his mind. He took out a storage bag and said, "Do you want to check how many yuan crystals there are in it?" Wei Zhe waved his hand and said, "No need. It won't be too late to settle the bill after the competition." As he spoke, he divided the ingredients for the 3-mark pill into 2 portions, tossing one to Di Quan and the other to Ningyu. "Don't waste time. Start refining now," Wei Zhe said in a low voice. Swoosh! Swoosh! In the next moment, Ningyu and Di Quan's figures flashed and landed steadily in the center of the arena. Di Quan tossed the meteor cauldron above his head, then grabbed a medicinal ingredient and tossed it into the cauldron. Sizzle. As soon as the medicinal ingredient entered the cauldron, it made a sizzling sound and was quickly burned into a drop of pure liquid. Di Quan patted the cauldron, and the drop of pure liquid burst out of the cauldron and was stored in a jade bottle that he had prepared. Di Quan then picked up another medicinal ingredient and tossed it into the cauldron. Di Quan's movements were very smooth and practiced. In a short period of time, there were already 5 jade bottles in front of him. The pure liquid in the jade bottle indicated that Di Quan had completely refined the 5 jeweled medicinal ingredients. Senior brother Di Quan is indeed worthy of being ranked 10th on the Sacred Institute's alchemy list. His alchemy skills are indeed superb. That's for sure. I heard that senior brother Di Quan is aiming for the top 5 in the next alchemy roll contest. Top 5? I'm afraid it will be very difficult. The top 5 of the pill list are all monsters. Nothing is impossible. With senior brother Yi Tian's help, it won't be difficult for senior brother Di Quan to enter the top 5. All in all, senior brother Di Quan will definitely win this alchemy competition. This is understandable, because that brat Ningyu has yet to start refining the 3-mark pill. Hearing this, everyone shifted their gaze to Ningyu. When they saw Ningyu staring at the medicinal ingredients in front of him, everyone was stunned. Could it be that Ningyu didn't know how to refine a 3-mark pill? The more they thought about it, the more likely it seemed. After all, a 3-mark pill was a 4th-tier pill, and Ningyu was not a 4th-tier alchemist, so it was very likely that he had never refined a 3-mark pill before. He was so arrogant just now. I thought he knew how to refine a 3-mark pill. Silver spear wax head. It's definitely a silver spear wax head. It looks good, but it's useless. I've said it before. This is a competition without any suspense. Senior brother Di Quan will definitely win. Seeing Ningyu's expression, Fang Yuan's expression turned slightly ugly. The reason why he didn't stop the competition between Ningyu and Di Quan was that he had used a secret technique to contact Dongfang Ji, hoping that Dongfang Ji would rush over. Unfortunately, he had used the secret technique, but Dongfang Ji didn't respond at all. Helpless, he could only give up on contacting Dongfang Ji. Swoosh! At this moment, Ningyu's gaze slowly retracted from the medicinal ingredients. No problem. let's start refining the pill. His right hand was holding the quenching furnace, while his left hand kept throwing the medicinal ingredients into the furnace. Umph. You've only started refining the pill now. How can you catch up to Di Quan? Wei Zhe snorted coldly when he saw Ning Yu's actions. Whether or not I can catch up to him is not determined by words, but by actions, Ning Yu said calmly as he shrugged his shoulders. To Ning Yu, the few minutes he had wasted was completely necessary. He didn't know if Wei Zhe had tampered with the medicinal ingredients, but it was always better to be careful. After checking every medicinal ingredient one by one, Ning Yu finally relaxed. Since there was no problem with the medicinal ingredients, it was only a matter of time before he could refine the 3-mark pill. In comparison, the difficulty of refining the 3-mark pill was much easier than the true martial pill. Even Ning Yu could refine a supreme grade true martial pill, let alone a 3-mark pill. However, Ning Yu didn't intend to refine a supreme grade 3-mark pill. In his opinion, a high-grade 3-mark pill was enough. Whoosh! In the next moment, Ning Yu grabbed a large amount of medicinal ingredients with his left hand and threw them into the quenching furnace. Gulp! Seeing Ning Yu's crazy actions, even though Fang Yuanzi was prepared for it, he couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Previously, on the battle stage, Ning Yu had refined the soul-solidifying pill in this way. Therefore, from the beginning, Fang Yuanzi felt that Ning Yu would do this. However, the soul-solidifying pill was a 3rd-grade medicinal pill, while the 3-mark pill was a 4th-grade medicinal pill. Using the same method, would Ning Yu be able to refine a 3-mark pill? Ning Yu must have been kicked in the head by a donkey. It would be strange if he could refine a medicinal pill using this method. Maybe this is a unique method of refining medicinal pills that he created. A unique method of refining medicinal pills? In my opinion, he knew that he would lose, so he gave up. Look, senior brother Di Quan is already extracting the medicinal liquid. Someone shouted, attracting everyone's attention. Di Quan poured all the liquid in the jade bottle into the furnace and increased the temperature of the flame at the same time. Crackle. With so much pure liquid entering the meteor alchemy furnace, it was like frying beans, and a crackling sound could be heard. Suppress it. Following that, Di Quan's 4th-grade soul force poured out and crazily surged into the alchemy furnace. The soul-solidifying pill. In a short span of 10 minutes, Di Quan had already reached the last stage. As long as he used his soul force to suppress the medicinal liquid into the shape of a medicinal pill, and after a period of transformation, he would be able to refine a 3-mark pill. At most 5 minutes, senior brother Di Quan will be able to refine a 3-mark pill. In my opinion, when senior brother Di Quan is done refining the pill, Ning Yu will definitely not have extracted the medicinal liquid. What is Ning Yu doing? Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and realized that all the medicinal ingredients in front of Ning Yu had disappeared. Everyone was dumbfounded. There were so many medicinal ingredients just now. Why was there not a single one? Could it be that Ning Yu threw all the medicinal ingredients into the alchemy furnace? Ha! I'm dying of laughter. I'm really dying of laughter. Why is there such a stupid person in this world? A student laughed loudly. Ning Yu is in a hurry. If he doesn't do this, even if he can refine a 3-mark pill, he will still be behind Di Quan. A student analyzed. The conflict that erupted here attracted the attention of some other senior students. Usually, Di Quan relied on Yi Tian's support in the Sacred Institute to act like a tyrant and bully many senior students. Chapter 289. Bang! Bang! As the crowd discussed spiritedly, a low muffled sound rang out from the pill-quenching cauldron above Ning Yu's head. Upon hearing this sound, the surrounding cultivators were first stunned, but soon after, they began to laugh without the slightest scruple. Ha! I already knew that Ning Yu's willful actions would definitely cause the pill to explode. Ning Yu's defeat is already set in stone. Elder Wei probably doesn't want to win Ning Yu's yuan crystals. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked for his pill cauldron. Right, from the looks of it, It's unknown whether Ning Yu's pill cauldron will be able to endure the pill explosion. At the same time, Di Quan fiercely slapped the meteor pill cauldron. Pill formed. Following Di Quan's low shout, the lid of the meteor pill cauldron flew up, and a sparkling and translucent pill was about to burst out from the mouth of the pill-quenching cauldron. However, before the pill inside the meteor pill cauldron flew out, on the other side, Ning Yu's eyes suddenly opened, and his palm heavily slapped the pill-quenching cauldron. Swoosh! In the next moment, the pill lid was lifted, and a smooth and round, sparkling and translucent pill flew out. What? Ning Yu actually refined a 3-mark pill? This is impossible, absolutely impossible. Nothing is impossible. The pill in Ning Yu's hand is indeed a 3-mark pill. Moreover, its quality is high. High-quality 3-mark pill. The surrounding cultivators were all dumbfounded, especially the many cultivators that had followed Di Quan here. At this moment, their eyes were wide open, and their faces were filled with confusion. Ning Yu refining a 3-mark pill caused them to be extremely shocked, to the extreme. This was because how was Ning Yu refining a pill? He was clearly messing around. If he could refine a grade 4 3-mark pill like this, was there still any justice in this world? If the other tier 4 pill refinement masters knew about this, they would probably vomit blood. Ignoring the discussions around him, Ning Yu held the 3-mark pill in his hand and slowly walked towards Wei Zhe. He said calmly, "Wei Zhe, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I managed to refine the 3-mark pill before Di Quan." Bang! Wei Zhe stomped on the ground. He was so angry that his face turned green. He said in a low voice, "You are refining a high-grade 3-mark pill. Its quality might not be as high as Di Quan's." Ning Yu didn't mind. He shrugged and said, "Words are no proof. Let Di Quan bring the medicinal pill over, and we'll know once we compare." In fact, Ning Yu knew very well that Di Quan's soul force was only at the beginning stage of rank 4. The 3-mark elixir that he refined in pursuit of speed would only be middle grade at best. Moreover, the pill that he had refined was a high-grade 3-mark pill. Even if they were to compare the quality of the pill, he would still be superior to Di Quan. Di Quan, Wei Zhe said coldly, "Elder Wei, I refined a middle-grade 3-mark pill." Clenching his fists tightly, Di Quan's face turned ugly. He had never expected that Ning Yu would be able to refine a high-grade 3-mark pill. Originally, he thought that Ning Yu being able to refine a 3-mark pill was already very good. If someone had told him that Ning Yu could refine a high-grade 3-mark pill, he would definitely have scoffed at it. However, the truth was placed before him, and he couldn't refute it. Di Quan's heart was filled with unwillingness, extreme unwillingness. With his alchemy skills, it wasn't too difficult for him to refine a high-grade 3-mark pill. In fact, he might even be able to refine a supreme-grade 3-mark pill. In order to rush for time, he had only refined a middle-grade 3-mark pill. He had thought that he would be able to win, but who would have thought that he would fail miserably? Senior brother Di Quan lost. When Di Quan said that he had refined a middle-grade 3-mark pill, the faces of the seniors of the Sacred Institute who had followed him were as ugly as if they had eaten *T. They had been cheering happily just now, but now they had been slapped in the face. The burning sensation on their faces made them want to find a hole to hide in. This surprise is a little big. Fang Yuanzi was slightly relieved. Although he trusted Ning Yu more, before Ning Yu had won, he had been very nervous. Now that Ning Yu had successfully defeated Di Quan, he could finally put down the stone in his heart. Wei Zhe, the total is 6 million supreme-grade essence crystals and 45 million high-grade essence crystals. Ning Yu stepped forward and arrived in front of Wei Zhe. He stretched out his hand and said, "It's time to honor the bet. Don't worry, I'm not someone who can't afford to lose." As he spoke, Wei Zhe reached into his robes and took out a storage bag. However, before he could throw the storage bag to Ning Yu, he seemed to have thought of something. He glared at Ning Yu and exclaimed, "What did you say? 6 million supreme-grade essence crystals and 45 million high-grade essence crystals? Why don't you just rob me?" Wei Zhe, You won't go back on your words, will you? Ningyu's expression was a little exaggerated as he said, You said before that as long as I can defeat Di Quan, you'll compensate me however many essence crystals I have on me. Humph. I did say that, but you can't ask for an exorbitant price. Wei Zhe snorted coldly. However, before he finished speaking, Ningyu waved the storage bag in his hand and said, I'm not asking for an exorbitant price. This storage bag contains all of my belongings. A total of 6 million supreme-grade essence crystals and 45 million high-grade essence crystals. I didn't count the remaining middle-grade and low-grade essence crystals. Wei Zhe's eyes turned cold. He unleashed his peak rank, 5 soul force, and probed the storage bag in Ningyu's hand. Ningyu did not stop him and allowed Wei Zhe's soul force to search the storage bag. After a while, Wei Zhe slowly withdrew his soul force. His expression was as ugly as it could be. He had been tricked. Wei Zhe's first thought was that he had been tricked by Ningyu, because inside the storage bag, there were indeed 6 million supreme-grade essence crystals and 45 million high-grade essence crystals. Ningyu did not lie. At this time, Wei Zhe was also rather vexed. Vexed that he did not check before the bet started. 6 million supreme-grade essence crystals and 45 million high-grade essence crystals. He could take it out. But that was all of his belongings. It was all of his belongings as a peak rank 5 alchemist. If he handed it over to Ningyu here, he would instantly become a pauper. Wei Zhe, as the dignified Sacred Academy's head elder, you wouldn't be thinking of reneging on a debt, right? Ningyu secretly used essence chi, making his voice spread in the Sacred Academy. How can I possibly renege on a debt? Wei Zhe said gloomily. How about this? Why don't we have another bet? As long as you can defeat me, I'll give you double the amount of essence crystals. Don't. You're a peak rank, 5 alchemist. The disparity between us is huge. Ningyu hurriedly said, defeating you, I don't have too much confidence. My current idea is very simple. You give me 6 million supreme-grade essence crystals and 45 million high-grade essence crystals. Then, I'll bring Yin Hui to the freshman area. A lot of things happened today. I'm a little tired too. I need a rest now. Ningyu's words made Wei Zhe's face swell red like a monkey's, but asking him to hand over the essence crystals on him to Ningyu, he was definitely unwilling. But not giving the essence crystals to Ningyu, he felt that he could not live with his face. His prestige in the Sacred Academy would drop to the freezing point in the future. Even Zhang Tianwen might look down on him. Hoo-hoo, a freshman being so overbearing. I'm afraid it's somewhat inexcusable, right? Chapter 290. As the laughter faded, a cultivator slowly appeared before everyone's eyes. The martial artist was in his 20s. He wore a white robe and had a smile on his face. Yi Tian, it's senior brother Yi Tian. Why is senior brother Yi Tian here? Di Quan is Yi Tian's follower. If you want to beat a dog, you have to look at its master. Ningyu slapped Di Quan's face, so Yi Tian naturally has to come out and get back at him. A cold snort sounded. Hearing this, the surrounding martial artists were shocked. Who dared to speak like this? Was he not afraid of Yi Tian's revenge? It's Hong Jijun, senior brother Hong. No wonder he dared to speak to Yi Tian like this. So it's senior brother Hong. Yes, senior brother Hong is ranked 3rd on the Sacred Institute's elixir list, second only to Yi Tian. In the Sacred Institute, the two of them have always been at loggerheads. Looking at the two martial artists who suddenly appeared, Ningyu's expression turned slightly solemn. He realized that the strength of these two martial artists' soul force was no weaker than his. In other words, the strength of these two martial artists' soul force had reached the peak of grade 4. Hong Jijun, no one will think you're mute if you don't speak. Yi Tian glanced at Hong Jijun and withdrew his gaze. Yi Tian first cupped his fists towards Wei Zhe, then turned to Ningyu and said lightly, Elder Wei is the chief elder of the Sacred Institute. If you won fair and square, then so be it. But you used underhanded tricks to achieve victory. Elder Wei has already done his best not to apprehend you. You still want origin crystals? You really don't know what's good for you. What? Ningyu used underhanded means to refine a 3-mark pill? That's possible. After all, it came from senior brother Yi Tian, who is ranked second on the Sacred Institute's elixir list. His alchemy skills are superb. That's right. I originally thought that Ningyu was really that amazing to be able to refine a 3-mark pill. Now it seems that he has already prepared a 3-mark pill. Amazing. Just a short sentence, and you've already pointed the finger at me. Ningyu gave Yi Tian a very high evaluation. After all, there were very few people who could lead the way with just one sentence. Ningyu thought of a countermeasure in his mind. Yi Tian, your soul power has reached the 6th grade? Ningyu asked. Hee. Ningyu, you take Yi Tian too seriously. At this moment, Hong Jijun laughed. Let me tell you, his soul energy is only at peak rank 4. Oh, I thought his soul power had reached the 6th stage. Nodding, Ningyu said in a clear voice, I'm sure everyone can feel the strength of Wei Zai's soul energy. It's peak rank 5. Even with Wei Zai's peak rank 5 soul force, he didn't notice that I was using tricks. As he spoke, Ningyu's tone changed, and he said coldly, Who do you think you are, Yi Tian? Why do you have to say that I won by scheming? Whoosh! Yi Tian's complexion turned gloomy all of a sudden, so gloomy that it was terrifying. In the Sacred Institute, and even in the entire capital, there were very few people who dared to speak to him like this. Apart from being ranked second on the Sacred Institute's alchemy list, he had another special identity, Elixir King Dan Shinzi's last disciple. With the title of Dan Shinzi's last disciple, even a primal core martial artist would have to be polite to him. Ningyu was only a true martial realm martial artist, and yet he dared to call him, Who do you think you are in front of so many people? An aunt could tolerate this, but an uncle could not. Clap, clap. Next to him, Hong Jijun clapped his hands. Good scolding. Ningyu, just because of this, Hong Jijun, will take care of you in the Sacred Institute. Whoosh! Hong Jijun's words made the surrounding martial artists a little dumbfounded. In the Sacred Institute, Hong Jijun was not to be trifled with. Yi Tian was Dan Shinzi's last disciple, and Hong Jijun was the last disciple of some hidden old monster in Danwu College. Both sides were evenly matched, and neither could do anything to the other. Now that Ningyu obtained Hong Jijun's protection, it would most likely be hard for Yi Tian to make a move. Ningyu was not an unreasonable person. He understood the logic of having more friends and more paths. Brother Hong, I was also forced into a corner. Ningyu had a long face as he said, Back then, Wei Zai insisted on making a bet with me. I had no choice but to agree to him. Who would have thought that he lost the bet and didn't want to fulfill it? Hong Jijun asked, Ningyu, how many essence crystals did Elder Wei lose to you? Not much either. 6 million top-grade essence crystals and 45 million high-grade essence crystals. That's all, Ningyu said coolly. Puffed. Hearing that, Hong Jijun could not help laughing out loud. What kind of joke was this? If 6 million top-grade essence crystals and 45 million high-grade essence crystals were not considered much, then how many essence crystals were considered much? Up until now, Hong Jijun finally understood why Wei Zai would act shamelessly. That was a large sum of essence crystals. If it were him, he would also renege on the debt. Looking at Fong Yuanzi beside him, Hong Jijun asked, Deputy Dean Fong, is what Brother Ningyu said true? That's right. Wei Zai lost the bet, but didn't want to fulfill it. I saw it with my own eyes. Fong Yuanzi had long been unhappy with Wei Zai. In the past, he did not dare to say much due to Wei Zai's powerful strength. However, when he saw that a student like Ningyu dared to go against Wei Zai, he also threw caution to the wind. He said coldly, as an elder of the Sacred Institute, if he doesn't fulfill his promise, it won't just be him losing face, but the entire Sacred Institute's face. Yi Tian, you heard it too? Elder Wei did indeed lose the bet. Could it be that you want to return these essence crystals on behalf of Elder Wei? Hong Jijun said with a smile. Oof. A mere few million top-grade essence crystals is nothing to me. Yi Tian. With a cold snort, Yi Tian casually threw a storage bag at Ningyu. Looking at the storage bag that kept approaching him, Ningyu was slightly surprised, because he discovered that there was a violent soul force fluctuation on the storage bag. Moreover, that soul force fluctuation had reached the peak of grade 4. Yi Tian did not want to hand over the essence crystals willingly. Instead, he wanted to teach him a lesson. Hong Jijun naturally discovered the soul force fluctuation on the storage bag. However, he did not make a move. He also wanted to see how strong Ningyu's strength was and whether he was worthy of being his friend. How dare you use your hands to grab the storage bag? You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The most depressed person at the scene was naturally Wei Zhe. In the Sacred Institute, his status was indeed second only to Dongfang Ji. He was an existence who could summon the wind and summon the rain. However, no matter how amazing a person was, there would always be people who could restrain him. Yi Tian and Hong Jijun were both amazing people that he did not dare to offend. Yi Tian had Alchemy King Dan Shinzi behind him, while Hong Jijun had the hidden old monster of Danwu College behind him. Either one of them had stronger backing than him. Ever since Yi Tian and Hong Jijun appeared, he went from being the center of attention to becoming a supporting character. He was even inferior to Ningyu. Yi Tian mastered a kind of soul attack spell. As long as your hand comes into contact with his soul force, your skin will be corroded away. Wei Zhe seemed to be able to see the miserable state of Ningyu's palm turning into white bones. The corners of his mouth involuntarily curled up, curling into a hint of a smile. Peak grade 4 soul force fluctuation, huh? Chapter 291. Buzz. Just as the soul-severing sword was about to touch the storage bag, a powerful soul ripple shot out from the storage bag and attacked the soul-severing sword. Ningyu was clearly prepared for this. With a thought, he controlled the soul-severing sword to suddenly accelerate, avoiding Yi Tian's soul ripple and stabbing at the storage bag. Whoosh! The soul-severing sword was a heaven-rank flying sword. The moment it touched the storage bag, it was pierced. Whoosh! The storage bag was filled with many origin crystals. As soon as it was pierced, a large amount of origin crystals fell out. Ningyu reacted quickly and arrived before the storage bag in an instant. With a wave of his hand, the origin crystals, including the storage bag, were all stored in a storage ring that he had prepared beforehand. A storage ring. Yi Tian didn't care about the storage bag being pierced. However, when he saw the storage ring in Ningyu's hand, his expression finally changed, and an expression of shock appeared in his eyes. The quality of this storage ring can't be too low, Yi Tian muttered with a slight frown. Ningyu probed the storage ring with his soul power and slightly checked the number of crystals inside. He nodded with satisfaction. The origin crystals are just right. We're even now. Ningyu's figure flashed and appeared in front of Yan Hui, intending to take him away. Ningyu, I want to see one. However, Yan Hui didn't seem to want to leave. He gritted his teeth and said, if I don't see one today, I won't leave. Looks like he's an infatuated man, Hong Jijun said. It's fortunate that he likes Meng Wan. Meng Wan is also a bitter person. Seeing Ningyu's doubtful expression, Hong Jijun sighed and slowly said, Meng Wan's talent in alchemy is very high. She's ranked 8th on the Sacred Institute's alchemy ranking. It's just that. Hong Jijun sighed and continued, she's blind. A blind man? Ningyu was taken aback. For Yan Hui to be so infatuated with a blind man, he was indeed a rare man. Hong Jijun continued, it's a little difficult for Yan Hui to meet Meng Wan. Ningyu asked, what's the problem? Hee, let me tell you what the difficulties are. Right at this moment, Yi Tian lightly smiled and said, since the age of 3, Meng Wan has been following my master. Until now, an entire 17 years have passed. Just a week ago, my master had already betrothed Meng Wan to me. Yan Hui wants to see my future wife. Do you think there's any difficulty? Bah, Yi Tian, Wan'er doesn't like you at all. Stop daydreaming. Wan'er said that even if I die, I won't marry you. Yan Hui seemed to have gained some strength as he scolded loudly. Ningyu fell in a deep thought. This matter was indeed somewhat difficult to handle. He definitely couldn't use force because that old fart, Wei Zhe, was watching. Once he used force, he definitely wouldn't sit idly by. Since he couldn't use force, then he could only use another method. Ningyu rolled his eyes and said, Yi Tian, you said that Meng Wan is your future wife. Word or no proof? Why don't you call Meng Wan out and confront her face to face? If I call her out just because you want me to, wouldn't it be very embarrassing? Pursing his lips, Yi Tian said coldly, Today I'll say it here. As long as I'm here, you guys can forget about seeing Meng Wan. Before Yi Tian's voice faded, his eyes widened, because he saw a graceful figure slowly walking over from not far away. The girl was around 20 years old. Her jet black hair fell on both sides of her shoulders, and her eyes were bright. Wanner! Yin Hui abruptly shook off Ningyu's arm and ran towards the girl, courting death. Seeing this, Yi Tian secretly cursed and immediately rose from the ground. His palm carried a gust of yuan qi and blasted towards Yin Hui. Swoosh! From the corner of his eye, Ningyu had been watching Yi Tian. The moment Yi Tian made his move, he rushed out and blocked in front of Yi Tian. He threw out a backhand punch, which collided with Yi Tian's fist. Bang! When the two fists collided, Yi Tian was forced back several steps before he could stabilize himself. Ningyu, don't think that I don't dare to touch you, Yi Tian said coldly after he stabilized himself. Yi Tian was ranked in the top 20 on the Sacred Institute's combat list. In terms of martial arts cultivation alone, he was no match for Ningyu. If Ningyu hadn't held back with that punch just now, he would have already been seriously injured. Why are you interfering with a young couple's reunion? Ningyu didn't care about Yi Tian's reprimand and said calmly, What young couple? Meng Wan is my fiancé. Be more respectful with your words. Yi Tian said angrily. Yi Tian, aren't you ashamed? Look at how intimate the young couple is. She doesn't look like your fiancé at all, Hong Jijun said as he watched the show. Hong Jijun, no one will think you're mute if you don't speak. Yi Tian said coldly. Hearing Yi Tian's words, Hong Jijun shrugged and didn't comment. His original intention was to go against Yi Tian. No matter what Yi Tian did, he had to interfere. He couldn't let Yi Tian have it easy. Next to him, Wei Zhe took a step forward and said in a deep voice, Ningyu, this is the older students' battle arena. Now that your battle is over, hurry up and get back to the new students' area. Hearing this, Ningyu's eyes narrowed. He suppressed the anger in his heart and said, Wei Zhe, is there a rule in the Sacred Institute that new students can't compete in the older students' battle arena? Wei Zhe said coldly, There is no such rule in the past, but there is now. If you don't leave, don't blame me for being rude. As he said, Wei Zhe's middle stage essence core aura erupted once more. Wei Zhe felt that the opportunity had come. The last time he fought with Ningyu, he did not gain the upper hand. This time, he must get back at him. Leave then, no big deal. I don't want to stay here either. Ningyu did not continue arguing with Wei Zhe. Instead, he walked straight to Yin Hui's side and said, Come, go back to the new students area. We're not welcome here. But, Yin Hui said rather anxiously. Ningyu waved his hand and said, Meng Wan can go to the new students area with us. The older students area doesn't welcome new students. The new students area is still more welcoming to older students. Great! Yin Hui revealed a look of joy. You can't go anywhere. Wei Zhe took a step out and blocked in front of Ningyu and Yin Hui and said gloomily, Older students can't go to the new students area either. This opportunity to suppress Ningyu is seriously too rare. Wei Zhe naturally did not wish to give it up. If he let Ningyu return to the new students area and enter the Danwu pool to cultivate for 6 hours, Wei Zhe did not dare to imagine to what extent Ningyu's strength would increase to. The current Ningyu's strength was already extremely terrifying until he was only slightly stronger than Ningyu. One could imagine that in another few days, after Ningyu came out of the Danwu pool, he would not be Ningyu's match anymore. Chapter 292. Defeat you? Defeat Yi Tian? Ningyu revealed an exaggerated expression and immediately said, "Not interested. I entered Danwu College to cultivate, not to fight with some random cat or dog." "Who are you calling a cat? And who are you calling a dog?" Wei immediately displayed the aura of a middle-stage Yuan Dan cultivator, abruptly pressuring Ningyu. "If some people insist on taking it as their own, I have nothing to say." Ningyu's illusory golden Dan surged out with Yuan Qi. While resisting Wei's pressure, he coldly said, "I still have a lot of things to do. I don't have time to waste with you guys here." There were two reasons why Ningyu entered Danwu College. The first was to obtain first place in the freshman assessment and obtain a promise from Dongfangji. The second was to enter the Danwu pool and strive to advance to the middle stage of the true martial realm. Now that Dongfangji had already obtained his promise, the next step was to enter the Danwu pool to cultivate. There were still 4 days before Yi and Lu Wei's wedding. Ningyu had to meet the Red Devil and the Dark Emperor before their wedding to discuss countermeasures. He had no choice but to waste so much time here. He couldn't just stand by and watch the matter between Yang Yu and Yin Hui. "Ningyu, let's have a competition of alchemy." Right at this moment, Yi Tian solemnly said, "Let's compete in refining a 3-mark pill." Whoosh! Hearing Yi Tian's words, Wei suddenly retracted his aura and echoed, "Your level of refining a 3-mark pill isn't low either. As long as you can beat Yi Tian in refining a 3-mark pill, I will allow you to leave with Meng Wan." The corner of Yi Tian's mouth rose, and he continued, "Elder Wei is right. If you can beat me, not only will I let you take Meng Wan away, I will also personally cancel the engagement with Meng Wan." "Yi Tian, my hands are also itching. Why don't we have an alchemy competition first?" Hong Jijun had said that he would take care of Ningyu. Now that Wei and Yi Tian were making things difficult for Ningyu, he naturally had to step forward. 3-mark Dan is not your best Dan. In my opinion, it would be better for us to refine true martial Dan. Isn't Hong Jijun too arrogant? In the Sacred Institute, if Yi Tian claims to be the second best at refining true martial pellets, no one would dare to claim to be the first. That's understandable. Even the freak who ranks first on the Sacred Institute's Dan list isn't as good at refining true martial Dan as Yi Tian. Could it be that Hong Jijun's alchemy skills have improved? It's hard to say, but it's possible. Hearing that Hong Jijun was going to compete with Yi Tian in refining the true martial Dan, the surrounding students began to whisper. Because Yi Tian's level of refining true martial Dan was just too high, even some grade 5 alchemists were not as good as him. Now that Hong Jijun wanted to compete with Yi Tian in refining the Dan, one had to admit that it was indeed very arrogant. "Hong Jijun, don't say that I didn't give you a chance. I will let you refine the true martial Dan first." Yi Tian shouted, "Who has the herbs for refining the true martial Dan?" "I do." Dequan hurriedly handed over a storage bag, which contained more than 10 sets of herbs for refining the true martial Dan. "Yi Tian, this is what you said." Hong Jijun did not hesitate and directly picked up a set of herbs for refining the true martial Dan. With a flick of his wrist, he threw the alchemy furnace that he carried with him into the air. At the same time, Hong Jijun threw the herbs into the alchemy furnace and began to refine the true martial Dan. Looking at the alchemy furnace in the air, Ningyu murmured, "This alchemy furnace should be ranked in the top 200 of the alchemy furnace Earth list." Hong Jijun's alchemy furnace was a bit special. It was not round, but conical. The conical side was the bottom of the alchemy furnace, and the round side was the top of the alchemy furnace. This alchemy furnace seemed to be unevenly heated, but in fact it was not. Under the control of soul power, this kind of alchemy furnace was very evenly heated, and refining the Dan was also twice the result with half the effort. Whoosh! 5 minutes later, Yi Tian picked up a set of herbs for refining the true martial Dan and slowly sorted them. Then, with a flick of his wrist, Yi Tian threw a square alchemy furnace above his head. Looking at Yi Tian's alchemy furnace, Ningyu was slightly surprised, because he found that the square alchemy furnace above Yi Tian's head was of very high quality. Even if it was not as good as his quenching alchemy furnace, it was not too far off. This alchemy furnace should be ranked in the top 100 of the alchemy furnace Earth list. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said solemnly. Yi Tian and Hong Jijun's soul power had reached the peak of grade 4, and their alchemy level was superb. Coupled with the assistance of a good alchemy furnace, refining the true martial Dan was naturally very fast. Only half an hour had passed, and Hong Jijun and Yi Tian had reached the stage of extracting the medicinal liquid at the same time. At this speed, it would not be long before the two of them would be able to refine the true martial Dan. Yi Tian and Hong Jijun are worthy of being ranked second and third on the Sacred Institute's alchemy list. They are so fast at refining the true martial Dan. The two of them are about the same speed at refining the true martial Dan. They should be finished at the same time. That's right. Now let's see who can refine the higher quality true martial Dan. Hearing the word around him, Ningyu's head shook imperceptibly. Others might not be able to see it, but he knew that Yi Tian would definitely refine the true martial Dan one step ahead of Hong Jijun. This discovery made him very surprised. It should be noted that Yi Tian had started refining 5 minutes later than Hong Jijun, and 5 minutes later, he had refined the true martial Dan one step ahead of Hong Jijun. It was conceivable that in terms of refining the true martial Dan, Yi Tian was much better than Hong Jijun. Ningyu, next to him, Yin Hui was a little worried. He gritted his teeth and said, "If you can't do it, you leave first. Even if I am seriously injured, I will take one away." "Fight? What do you have to fight with them?" Ningyu was a little speechless. He said, "With your Xiantian level cultivation? With the strength of your peak 3rd grade soul force? Or," Ningyu paused and continued, "with your injured master?" Being reprimanded by Ningyu, Yin Hui's face was a little red, and he was speechless for a long time. Indeed, compared to Yi Tian, he had no advantage. His cultivation was not high, his soul force was not strong, and his background was not powerful. The only advantage he had was that Meng Wan liked him. "Don't worry. Since I am involved in this matter, I will take care of it to the end." Looking at Meng Wan, Ningyu said to Yin Hui, "What you need to do now is to think about how to improve your strength in the future and protect Meng Wan." With Ningyu's eyesight, he had already discovered that Meng Wan's soul force was at the early 4th grade, and her cultivation was at the early stage of the true martial realm. Yin Hui was weaker than Yi Tian, but he was completely suppressed by Meng Wan. How could he protect Meng Wan? It was obviously bullshit. "I will." Holding Meng Wan's hand, Yin Hui secretly made up his mind. He must cultivate well and strive to improve his strength as soon as possible. Bang! At this moment, Yi Tian suddenly patted the cauldron, and a Dan suddenly flew out from the square cauldron. Bang! Chapter 293. Hong Jijun lost. Ningyu murmured when he saw the pellets flying out of the furnace. "Ningyu, both Hong Jijun and Yi Tian have refined true martial pellets, and the quality is high grade. How do you know Hong Jijun lost?" Yin Hui asked. Although the quality of the elixirs has reached high grade, the elixirs in Yi Tian's hands are slightly better. Ningyu explained, because Yi Tian's true martial pellets are infinitely close to supreme grade true martial pellets. Supreme grade true martial pellets. Yin Hui's heart skipped a beat. His eyes were filled with shock. Although the true martial pellet was only a 4th grade pellet, it was relatively difficult to refine. Especially supreme grade true martial pellets. They were extremely rare. It could be said that out of 10 4th grade alchemists, there might not be one who could refine a supreme grade true martial pellet. Don't be discouraged. Everything has to be done slowly, one step at a time. Seeing that Yin Hui was a little down and out, Ningyu comforted him. Your talent is not much lower than Yi Tian's. As long as you work hard, your achievements in the future will not be any lower than Yi Tian's. I know. Taking a deep breath, Yin Hui's eyes were filled with determination. Hong Jijun, you lost. At that moment, Yi Tian took back the square furnace, waved the true martial pellet in his hand, and said lightly Not only did I refine the true martial pellet before you, but the quality of the true martial pellet is also higher than yours. It is not a shame that you lost. Yi, don't be so proud. You won't be so lucky next time. Hong Jijun was not a sore loser, so he said coldly. Just as I expected, Hong Jijun was defeated by Yi. Yi is second on the Sacred Institute's alchemy list, and Hong Jijun is third. It is reasonable that Yi won. Hong Jijun is straightforward. A loss is a loss. He can afford to lose. Hearing the discussion around him, Yi face was expressionless. He turned around and said to Ningyu, "True martial pellet or 3-mark pellet? You choose." Yi, why don't you challenge Ningyu to a martial arts competition? Instead, you want to compete with him in alchemy? Hong Jijun's expression was a little ugly as he hurriedly asked. In Hong Jijun's opinion, even he had lost to Yi, Ningyu definitely had no chance at all. He had heard that Ningyu had become a core disciple and had defeated Su Shan, who was ranked 3rd on the Sacred Institute combat rankings. Since he couldn't compete with Yi in alchemy, why not get back at him in martial arts? Alchemy Dao's Yi, I'll fight. Martial Dao, I'll fight. Weizhe stepped forward and said coldly. Elder Wei, I'm afraid it's not good for you to attack Ningyu, right? Hong Jijun hesitated. As an elder of the Sacred Institute, it would damage the Sacred Institute's reputation if word got out that he attacked a core disciple. What reputation? As long as no one says anything about what happened today, no one will know, Weizhe said in a low voice. Besides, I'm just sparring with Ningyu. Even if word got out, no one would say anything about it. Hong Jijun was a little angry. The current situation was clearly Weizhe and Yi teaming up to suppress Ningyu, and they still made it sound so dignified. Brother Hong, isn't it just an alchemy competition? It's not a big deal. Just agree to it. Ningyu interrupted Hong Jijun and said, I have a special characteristic. I don't fight with others for no reason. What do you mean? Yi frowned. Stakes. A competition must have some stakes for it to be interesting. The corner of Ningyu's mouth curled up. He seemed to have a card up his sleeve. Were we betting? Yi asked with interest. After pondering for a moment, Ningyu said, You've lost most of your origin crystals. In my opinion, let's bet on that square alchemy furnace of yours. If you want to bet on my square alchemy furnace, you need to be able to take out a corresponding stake, Yi said calmly. It's just a broken alchemy furnace. I'll pay 1,000,000 origin crystals. With a wave of his hand, Ningyu took out a storage pouch and said generously, A square alchemy furnace like yours can be bought with 1,000,000 origin crystals. You've made a profit. Ha ha ha. Yi threw his head back and laughed as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Very soon, his expression changed, and he said coldly, Supreme-grade origin crystals are not attractive to me at all. I want that spatial ring in your hand. That won't do. My storage ring is much more precious than your alchemy furnace, Ningyu said. You want to get something for nothing? How can there be such a good thing in this world? What if I add another 1,000,000 origin crystals? Yi said solemnly. Ningyu shook his head. 2,000,000. Ningyu shook his head again. 5,000,000. Ningyu still shook his head and said, Supreme-grade origin crystals are also not attractive to me. Gritting his teeth, Yi said solemnly, I haven't entered the Dan Marshall pool to cultivate this month. As long as you can defeat me, I'll give you the 1 hour in the Dan Marshall pool. Whoosh! Yi words immediately caused a huge commotion in the surroundings. The Dan Marshall pool was the best cultivation ground in the Sacred Institute. Even a martial artist like Yi, who was ranked in the top 3 of the Sacred Institute's alchemy roll, could only enter for 2 hours every month. Everyone was very shocked that Yi was willing to take out his time as a stake. That's the Dan Marshall pool. If I can cultivate inside for 2 hours, I can definitely advance to the middle stage of the true martial realm. An early stage true martial realm martial artist had a look of yearning. If I were to enter and cultivate for an hour, I would have long advanced to peak grade 3 alchemist. A middle stage grade Three alchemist students snorted coldly. The one who was the most shocked was Hong Jijun. Among the martial artists present, no one was clearer than him about the heaven-defying aspects of the Dan Marshall Pool. This was because he had already cultivated in the Dan Marshall Pool for a very long time. What's so special about that storage ring of Ning Yu's that could make Yi Tian act like this? While being shocked, Hong Jijun was also curious. After all, he understood Yi Tian very well. If it wasn't for something heaven-defying, Yi Tian wouldn't joke around with the time he spent in the Dan Marshall Pool. If he failed miserably, the gains would not make up for the losses. Sure, Ningyu nodded. Swish. As Ningyu's voice faded, Yi Tian flicked his sleeve, and a black token appeared in his hand. Defeat me, and this token belongs to you. Looking at the black token in Yi Tian's hand, Ningyu hesitated and said, I can enter the Dan Marshall Pool with this token? That's right. As long as you hold this token, the Dan Marshall Pool will be open to you unconditionally within this month, Yi Tian explained. Since that's the case, let's not waste any more time. Let's start refining the true Marshall Pill now. Ningyu was a little anxious as he said, when the alchemy battles are over, I want to go to the Dan Marshall Pool to take a look. If you want to go to the Dan Marshall Pool, you have to win first. With a cold snort, Yi Tian casually tossed a set of ingredients to Ningyu, then sat cross-legged and immediately started refining the true Marshall Pill. Seeing this, Ningyu didn't hesitate at all. Chapter 294. Seeing Ningyu's actions, the surrounding martial artists could not help but twitch their mouths. Did Ningyu think he was refining a 3-mark pill? He even dared to use this kind of refining method. One had to know that the true Marshall Pill was a 4th-grade medicinal pill, which is a whole grade higher than the 3-mark pill. Moreover, compared to the 3-mark pill, the true Marshall Pill was extremely difficult to refine. Using the same method, Ningyu could refine a 3-mark pill, but he might not be able to refine the true Marshall Pill. How arrogant and ignorant. Beside him, Di Quan snorted coldly. Refining the true Marshall Pill must be done carefully. There cannot be any mistakes in every step. A little carelessness and the refining will fail. Ningyu is seeking his own death by doing this. Having lost to Ningyu in refining the 3-mark pill, Di Quan had always harbored resentment in his heart. He suffered from not having a chance to spar with Ningyu again. Although Ningyu was competing with Yi Tian in refining the true Marshall Pill, it did not stop him from mocking Ningyu. The true Marshall Pill is a 4th-grade medicinal pill. Even I dare not use this kind of refining method. Ningyu is indeed seeking his own death by doing this. Weizhe nodded and said, just like Di Quan, Weizhe also harbored resentment towards Ningyu. In his heart, Ningyu was already a dead man. No one in the world could save Ningyu. As long as Ningyu dared to leave Danwu College, he would find a way to kill Ningyu. Only Ningyu's death could relieve the hatred in his heart. The true Marshall Pill is a 4th-grade medicinal pill. Could Ningyu? Looking at Ningyu's actions, Feng Yuanzi frowned and murmured, can he really refine it? Ningyu gave Feng Yuanzi too many shocks. First, he left a mark on the 7th layer of the stone steel and activated the crystal ball at the top layer of the stone steel. Then, he easily refined a peak-grade condensing pill. After that, Ningyu defeated Yushan and gained the upper hand against Zhang Tianwen. This series of events made Feng Yuanzi very confident in Ningyu. Ningyu's alchemy method is quite unique, but I don't know if he can refine the true Marshall Dan. Frowning, Hong Jijun also wanted to see if Ningyu could refine the true Marshall Dan. Chi. At this moment, Yi Tian, who was at the side, had already thrown all the medicinal ingredients into the pill furnace and began to increase the heat. At this rate, Yi Tian would be able to enter the final round of pill formation in another 10 minutes. On the other side, Ningyu turned his head to look at Yi Tian's actions. Then, without any regard for the consequences, he directly threw all the remaining medicinal ingredients into the quenching furnace. Is Ningyu an idiot? This is ridiculous. He is clearly fooling around. Definitely fooling around. In my opinion, Ningyu knows that he can't defeat senior brother Yi Tian. so he has already given up. Hee, senior brother Yi Tian deserves to be ranked second on the Sacred Institute's alchemy list. In the Sacred Institute, I'm afraid only the freak who ranks first on the alchemy list can surpass him in alchemy. Seeing Ning Yu's crazy actions, the surrounding students finally burst into an uproar. This time, they no longer whispered but discussed loudly. Surprisingly, everyone's opinion was the same. Ning Yu would definitely lose. He had no hope of winning. You want to keep up with my speed? It's not that easy. The corner of Etienne's mouth was lifted into an arc as he laughed faintly. Immediately, the peak grade 4 spiritual strength within his body poured out and suddenly entered the square-shaped pill furnace. Clatter! As soon as Etienne's peak 4th grade soul force entered the pill furnace, it crazily suppressed the medicinal liquid. Not long after, a prototype of an elixir appeared in the square pill furnace. Ningyu, I will be done in 5 minutes. You have to speed up. While suppressing the liquid with his soul force, Yi Tian did not forget to remind Ningyu. Swoosh! Hearing that, Ningyu suddenly threw the quenching pill furnace into the air, and then, under everyone's surprised gazes, he slowly walked towards Yi Tian. What's going on? Did Ningyu give up on refining the true martial elixir? I don't know, but it's very likely that he gave up. Otherwise, he wouldn't be walking towards Yi Tian. He must be going over to admit defeat. Ignoring the discussions in the surroundings, Ningyu walked up to Yi Tian's side a moment later. He first looked at Yi Tian's square pill furnace, and then Ningyu said lightly, "Your pill furnace is not bad, but what?" Yi Tian was puzzled. "Nothing. I just want to tell you that this pill furnace will be mine later. You have to be careful. Don't break my pill furnace." Shrugging, Ningyu turned around and left. Looking at Ningyu's back, Yi Tian was dumbfounded. How could there be such an arrogant person in the world? The competition was not over yet, and Yi Tian was already thinking about his square pill furnace. Buzz! Suddenly, Yi Tian's expression changed. He hurriedly controlled his soul force to suppress the medicinal liquid in the square pill furnace. A minute later, Yi Tian let out a long breath. That was close. If he hadn't reacted in time, the true martial elixir would have ended in failure. Ningyu, you better prepare your storage ring, because I will be refining the true martial elixir in 3 minutes. Yi Tian said coldly after coming back to his senses. It's okay. 3 minutes is enough for me. His right hand reached into the air and grabbed the pill furnace. Ningyu closed his eyes and sat down cross-legged. In fact, Ningyu didn't go to Yi Tian to mock him, nor to disturb his pill refining. He just wanted to see what grade of true martial elixir Yi Tian was going to refine. With Ningyu's pill refining skills, refining a supreme grade true martial elixir would be a piece of cake. But Ningyu didn't plan to do that. If he refined a supreme grade true martial elixir here, it would cause a huge sensation. So you are refining a high-grade true martial elixir. In that case, I only need to refine a supreme grade true martial elixir. All of a sudden, Ningyu's mind moved, and he suddenly quenched the pill furnace. Swish! 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 In the next second, 3 drops of crystal-clear liquid flew out of the pill furnace. After removing these 3 drops, the final true martial elixir should be a supreme grade 1. Ningyu mumbled to himself as he flicked his sleeve and smashed the 3 drops of liquid. Ha! Ningyu's head is really rusty. Only now did he realize that there is a problem with the ingredients. Seeing Ningyu's actions, Dequan couldn't help but laugh. Yi Tian is about to form the elixir. Weizhe looked at Yi Tian and said in a low voice, "Pa!" As soon as Weizhe finished speaking, Yi Tian suddenly stood up and slapped the pill furnace with his right hand. Done. However, before the true martial elixir in the square pill furnace came out, Ningyu stood up from the ground and grabbed the lid of the pill furnace with his right hand. At the same time, Ningyu's left hand reached into the pill furnace and grabbed a pill that was emitting a faint black mist in front of everyone's shocked eyes. True martial elixir. Looking at the elixir in Ningyu's hand, everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe their eyes at all. Ningyu had refined the true martial elixir before Yi Tian. Chapter 295. A True Martial Pill. Looking at the pill in Ningyu's hand, everyone's expression was so wonderful that it could be made into a big emoji pack. They had thought that Ningyu could refine a true martial pill, but who would have thought that Ningyu had not only refined a true martial pill, but also reached the highest grade? Gulp! Someone swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and the quiet square suddenly became noisy. How did Ningyu do it? How would I know? I guess it was a blind cat. A blind cat bumping into a dead mouse? Why don't you try it for me? That's a true martial pill. Even a fifth-grade alchemist may not be able to refine one in such a short time. Is Ningyu a fifth-grade alchemist? Thinking of this, everyone looked at Ningyu differently. If Ningyu was really a fifth-grade alchemist, he would have a chance to compete with that freak for the first place in the next competition. Damn it! At the same time, Yi Tian slammed his hand on the furnace and grabbed the true martial pill out. Yi Tian also refined a true martial pill. Let's see what grade it is. According to my guess, Yi Tian should be refining the supreme grade true martial pill. Almost. Yi Tian is the second on the Sacred Institute's alchemy list. If Ningyu can refine a true martial pill, he can definitely do it. Now both of them have refined a true martial pill. Who will win? Of course it will be Ningyu. After all, Ningyu refined a true martial pill before Yi Tian. What? While many martial artists were talking about it, Yi Tian unwillingly opened his hand. Seeing the slightly black elixir in Yi Tian's hand, the shock on everyone's face was no less than when Ningyu refined the top-grade true martial elixir. Because the true martial pill in Yi Tian's hand was only a high-grade one. By now, the result was obvious. Yi Tian refined a high-grade true martial dan, and Ningyu refined a top-grade true martial dan. Naturally, Ningyu won without a doubt. High-grade true martial dan? Seeing the dan in Yi Tian's hand, Di Quan and Wei Zhe were the most shocked. They had never imagined that Yi Tian would lose so thoroughly. Ningyu not only refined the true martial dan one step ahead of Yi Tian, but the quality of the true martial dan was also higher than Yi Tian's. The shock of the surrounding martial artists was already within Ningyu's expectations. With a flick of his wrist, he threw the supreme grade true martial pill towards Yi Tian. Pa! Yi Tian raised his head and looked at the true martial pill that was approaching him. A cold light shot out of his eyes and shattered the true martial pill. Let's go. With a cold snort, Yi Tian turned around and prepared to leave. Whoosh! However, just as Yi Tian moved, Ningyu dashed out and blocked in front of him. Extending his palm, Ningyu said indifferently, "It's time to return my square-shaped cauldron to me. You." Yi Tian clenched his fists so hard that cracking sounds could be heard. His face was ashen. "Here you go. I hope you take good care of it. In the next Sacred Institute's alchemy ranking competition, I will take it back." Yi Tian said gloomily as he threw the square-shaped cauldron to Ningyu. Catching the cauldron, Ningyu directly put it into his storage ring. "That's hard to say. I'm a little tight on money recently. I might sell it at any time. Just wait and see." Leaving a ruthless remark, Yi Tian turned around and left. Ningyu once again blocked his way. "Yi Tian, haven't you forgotten something?" Ningyu said with a smile. "The black token to enter the Danwu pool." At this moment, Hong Jijun came over and said, "There's so many people watching. Don't tell me you want to go back on your word?" Hearing this, Yi Tian unleashed his aura on the verge of exploding. He could give up on the square-shaped cauldron, but the black token was his proof to enter the Danwu pool. No matter what, he didn't want to give it to Ningyu. "Ningyu, don't go too far," Yi Tian said coldly. "I'm going too far?" Pointing at his own nose, Ningyu said with a smile, "You lost a bet to me, but you're not willing to fulfill your promise. Instead, you're saying that I'm going too far? Right, I wonder what Dan Shinzi would think if he were to learn of this matter." Shrugging his shoulders, Ningyu continued, "Fine, I'll give it to you." Hearing Ningyu's words, Yi Tian's eyes shone with undisguised killing intent. He reached into his pocket and took out the black token. Swoosh! After handing the black token to Ningyu, Yi Tian didn't linger and directly left the plaza. Senior brother Yi Tian, wait for me. Seeing Yi Tian leave, Dequan didn't dare to linger and quickly followed. Whoosh! After Big Brother left, the surrounding martial artists immediately dispersed. As long as they were from Yi Tian's faction, not a single one was left. Awesome. This is too awesome. Seeing Yi Tian fleeing like a stray dog, Hong Jijun was very excited. Old brother Ningyu, why don't you go have a few drinks with me? Hong Jijun said to Ningyu. Waving his hand, Ningyu said, Brother Hong, I want to go take a look at the Donwu pool. I'll treat you to a few drinks some other day. Sure. I haven't used any time this month. Let's go to the Donwu pool together, Hong Jijun said after pondering for a moment. All right. Allow me to send Yin Hui and the rest back first. Ningyu didn't refuse. After all, he didn't know much about the Donwu pool. With Hong Jijun following, he could have someone explain it to him for free. Send them back? Ningyu, our battle in the martial Dao hasn't begun yet. Right at this moment, Weizhe took a stride forward and spoke coldly. Martial duel with you? Ningyu was stunned, then said, When did I agree to have a martial duel with you? If there's something wrong with your head because you're getting old. There's something wrong with your head. Weizhe snorted coldly. Today, you must have a martial duel with me and defeat me. Otherwise, you can't go anywhere. Weizhe was very domineering. As soon as he finished speaking, he displayed the aura of a mid-stage primal core cultivator and pressed down on Ningyu. Seeing this, Ningyu was also a little angry. Weizhe was too much. Wong. With a cold expression, Ningyu secretly circulated the spirit transformation technique, and the Yuan Qi in his sea of consciousness gushed out. Swoosh! Immediately, Ningyu took out the Absolute Soul Sword and held it in his hand. With the Absolute Soul Sword in his hand, Ningyu rose from the ground and rushed toward Wei Zhe at a shocking speed. Absolute Sword Wave. Just as he was about to reach Wei Zhe, Ningyu stabbed out several times. Instantly, several shocking sword waves formed and approached Wei Zhe from all directions. Insignificant tricks. Feeling the majestic sword waves around him, Wei Zhe's heart skipped a beat. However, he didn't show it on his face. Instead, he snorted coldly, and the golden core in his sea of consciousness suddenly sprang out and floated above his head. I'll let you see the true strength of a mid-stage primal core cultivator. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Chapter 296. Pissed, 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 pissed. The moment the Yuan Qi light beam and the absolute sword wave collided, there was an explosive sound. Wei Zhe was a genuine mid-primal core warrior, and his golden core was much stronger than the illusory golden core. The Yuan Qi light beam that shot out from it was very powerful. Although the Absolute Sword Wave was the fifth form of the Nine Purity Supreme Sword Technique, and Ningyu had added a lot of Yuan Qi into it, it did not gain any advantage in the face of the powerful Yuan Qi light beam. Kaboom! Following that, another earth-shattering roar sounded in the area. Swoosh! Accompanying the earth-shattering roar was the sound of friction between the speeding Wei Zhe and the air. A mid-primal core warrior is indeed terrifying. Having failed to gain any advantage from the first attack, Ningyu immediately retreated. The illusory armor appeared on the surface of his skin, and his speed increased dramatically. However, Ningyu did not completely retreat. After he had pulled away from Wei Zhe, his eyes turned cold, and his pinnacle fourth-grade soul power poured out. His hands moved quickly in mid-air, and in an instant, a palm print that was almost solid suddenly appeared and blasted towards Wei Zhe's face. Ghostly Samsara Palm, fourth form, Dark Dominating Palm. In the instant that the Dark Dominating Palm attacked, Ningyu gritted his teeth, and the Yuan Qi in his consciousness gathered on his right palm. Together with the Dark Dominating Palm, he blasted it towards Wei Zhe. Ningyu knew that although the Dark Dominating Palm was a soul attack technique, it would not have much effect on a warrior like Wei Zhe, who had a strong soul power. In other words, Wei Zhe would definitely be able to dodge or even disperse the dark dominating palm. Crack! At this moment, Wei Zhe's lips curled up and his pinnacle 5th grade soul power was unleashed, pressing towards the dark dominating palm. Along with a crisp sound, the underworld tyrant palm seal in front of Wei Zhe abruptly shattered. Ningyu, don't think I don't know what you're doing. Not good. Wei Zhe was just about to say something after shattering the underworld tyrant palm imprint when his expression changed and he immediately retreated, because he noticed that Ningyu had suddenly arrived before him since a long time ago. Moreover, Ningyu's right palm carried along an extremely violent origin energy gale as it fiercely smashed towards his face. At such a close distance, Wei Zhe had no time to make an effective defense at all. Damn it, if I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have used all of my soul force. Wei Zhe cursed inwardly as he retreated while controlling his pinnacle 5th grade soul force to return to his body. Soul, severing sword, go. However, as Wei Zhe retreated, Ningyu's eyes revealed a ruthless glint. Shortly after, he controlled the soul, severing sword and swept it towards Wei Zhe's soul power. The absolute soul sword was a devouring flying sword that could devour a martial artist's soul force. Back in the cave, Ningyu relied on the absolute soul sword and the semicircular pendant to devour Master Lung's 6th grade soul force. Now that the semicircular pendant had basically lost its ability to devour soul force, the absolute soul sword's devouring ability was still there, and it could still exercise its authority. The absolute soul sword could even devour Master Lung's 6th grade soul force, let alone Wei Zhe's pinnacle 5th grade soul force. The powerhouses from Danwu College aren't paying attention to this place. I'll make use of this opportunity to devour your soul force. Actually, when he was using the absolute soul sword, Ningyu had secretly separated a portion of his soul force to detect the surroundings. He only dared to use the absolute soul sword's devouring ability after making sure that there were no hidden powerhouses around. Otherwise, it would not be worth it if the higher-ups from Danwu College noticed it. Smack! Not long after, Ningyu's palm collided with Wei Zhe's palm. Why don't I have any strength at all? Wei Zhe was a little dumbfounded when he felt the minuscule fluctuation of vitality on Ningyu's palm. He had just realized that there was a strong fluctuation of vitality on Ningyu's palm. Why did he retract all of it in an instant? Wei Zhe did not remain dumbfounded for long. He screamed in shock as he felt a piercing pain from the depths of his soul. Devour! At this moment, Ningyu had already retreated to the absolute soul sword side. He was controlling the absolute soul sword to devour Wei Zhe's soul force. Ningyu, stop right now. Feeling that he was losing control of his soul force bit by bit, Wei Zhe quickly controlled his soul force to return to his body. Wei Zhe, you old fool, I'll make you pay today. Ningyu snorted coldly and sent a message to Wei Zhe using his soul force. After that, Ningyu sat down with his legs crossed. Suck! An extremely strong suction force exploded from the absolute soul sword and almost instantly devoured half of Wei Zhe's soul force. Seeing this, Wei Zhe did not dare to be careless. He quickly sat down with his legs crossed like Ningyu and tried to control his soul force to return to his body. Why did they stop? I don't know. Could it be a draw? That's impossible. Elder Wei is at the intermediate stage of the primal core stage. Ningyu is definitely not his match. That's right. They should be having a soul battle. Swoosh. Almost all the students here were alchemists. Each of them had a strong soul force. They immediately unleashed their soul power, wanting to find out what was going on. Fog. Ningyu and Elder Wei are surrounded by fog. We can't see their soul battle at all. Elder Wei's soul force is at the pinnacle of the 5th grade. To be able to have a soul battle with him, could it be that Ningyu's soul force has also reached the pinnacle of the 5th grade? That's highly possible. Ningyu is able to refine a true martial pill. It should be very possible. When they realized that Ningyu's soul force might have reached the pinnacle of the 5th grade, The martial artists around looked at Ningyu differently. He had just entered the Sacred Institute, and his soul force had already reached the pinnacle of the 5th grade. What would happen after a few more years of cultivation? It was likely that in 2 or 3 years, Ningyu's soul force would definitely advance to the 6th grade, or even the 7th grade. Moreover, Ningyu was still young and had a lot of room for growth. From today onwards, I'm afraid the structure of the Sacred Institute is going to change. That's right. A few years ago, Zhang Tianwen stood alone. Other than the freak who ranked first on the alchemy list of the Sacred Institute, no one could compete with him. Now that Ningyu has appeared out of nowhere, he is comparable to Zhang Tianwen. 2 of the 3 core disciples of the Sacred Institute have appeared. I wonder when Danyu, the one who made it to the 8th floor of the Ivory Tower, will arrive. Danyu? Ningyu? Could it be the same person? Waves of discussions broke out in the surroundings. From looking down on Ningyu at the beginning to shock at the end, an extremely dramatic change had occurred. Actually, it was no wonder. The shock that Ningyu gave them was simply too great. Suddenly, Wei Zhe's expression changed, and he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, his complexion turning somewhat pale. Opposite him, Ningyu slowly stood up from the ground. Swish! With a flick of his wrist, he directly stored the absolute soul sword into his storage ring. Then, Ningyu said indifferently to Wei Zhe, "Today's match ends here." As he spoke, Ningyu walked to Yin Hui's side and said, "Let's go. Follow me back to the new students area first. There shouldn't be anyone who dares to do anything to you there. Brother Hong, follow me to the new students area first, then we'll go to the Dan Wu pool." Ningyu turned and said to Hong Jijun. As soon as he finished speaking, Chapter 297. Looking at Ningyu's back view, the surrounding martial artists were dumbfounded. Who had won? Was it Elder Wei Zhe or core disciple Ningyu? It should be Ningyu who had defeated Elder Wei. After a while, someone said this, causing the students in the area to start discussing. That's right. In my opinion, it should be Ningyu who had won. After all, Ningyu was unharmed, while Elder Wei had vomited a mouthful of blood. I didn't expect the final victor to be Ningyu. This is unbelievable. How terrifying is Ningyu's strength to be able to defeat the intermediate primal core Elder Wei. Let's not talk about it anymore. We should hurry and leave before we get implicated. That's right, let's leave quickly. After a while, all the martial artists in the plaza had left. Not a single one was left. Now, only Wei Zhe was left in the plaza. Ningyu, I will make you pay for this. Wei Zhe clenched his fists tightly, his eyes filled with viciousness. The reason why Ningyu had won this time was because he had been careless and didn't know that Ningyu had the devouring flying sword. If he had known that Ningyu had the devouring flying sword, the result definitely wouldn't have been like this. But now that things had come to this, there was nothing he could do. However, half of his soul force had been devoured. Wei Zhe definitely had to get back at him. At the same time, Ningyu had already sent Yin Hui and Meng Wan to the new students area and asked Fang Yuanzi to take care of them. After that, Ningyu and Hong Jijun rushed towards the elixir martial pool. The elixir martial pool was considered open to the martial artists of the Sacred Institute. As long as one had a token, they could enter to cultivate. On the way, Ningyu asked, "Brother Hong, is there anything special about the elixir martial pool?" Ningyu didn't know much about the elixir martial pool, so asking Hong Jijun was the wiser choice. Dan and martial pool is just a general term. Accurately speaking, it should be divided into Dan pool and martial pool. Hong Jijun explained, the elixir pond contains a powerful and pure soul force that can be absorbed by students as they wish. As long as you absorb and refine it fast enough, you can even increase your soul force by a small rank within 2 hours. Of course, in the Sacred Institute, only the number 1 freak on the alchemy ranking of the Sacred Institute can raise his soul power by a small level in 2 hours. When I entered the Dan pool for the first time, I only raised my soul power from the early stage to the peak of the early stage. I didn't break through to the middle stage. Ningyu was stunned. He asked doubtfully, You raise your soul force from early stage to peak early stage rank 4 in one go. If you enter a few more times, won't it be easy for you to advance to peak rank 4? Shaking his head, Hong Ji-jun said, "It's easier said than done. The effects of the pill pool are the greatest the first time you enter. The effects will become weaker and weaker later on. Brother Ningyu, I advise you to enter the martial pool to cultivate this time. That way, you can make the most of your 2 hours." Hong Ji-jun then reminded him, "You still have 6 hours. Why don't you leave it for the damn pool? If you work hard, you might be able to break through a small level." Compared to the Dan pool, the martial pool contains an enormous amount of energy, and the effects are equally good every time you enter. Seeing through Ning Yu's doubts, Hong Ji-jun explained, "If you use these 2 hours to cultivate in the martial pool, you should be able to raise your cultivation to the middle stage." After some thought, Ning Yu asked, "Who's the freak who ranks first in the Sacred Institute's pill rankings?" Ning Yu had heard that the student who ranked first in the Sacred Institute's pill rankings was a freak, but he had been in the middle of a battle at the time and hadn't had time to think too much about it. That freak? I'm not too sure about the specifics, because there are very few students who have seen her in the Sacred Institute. Spreading out his hands, Hong Ji-jun continued, "I advise you not to ask about her, because her temper is a bit odd and she's temperamental." Temperamental? Huh. Ning, you didn't want to see the freak who ranked first in the Sacred Institute's pill rankings. After all, he only had 2 things to do after entering the Sacred Institute. He didn't want to ask about anything else, nor did he want to have too much contact with her. "We're here." At this moment, Hong Ji-jun stopped in front of stone door. Ningyu started and looked up. 2 old men stood on either side of the stone door. Hiss! Ningyu couldn't help but suck in a sharp breath when he saw the 2 old men. He hastily hid the illusory golden core in his consciousness. Ningyu smelled an aura of extreme danger from the 2 old men. This aura was even more terrifying than the one Dongfang Ji gave off. In other words, Dongfang Ji's strength was on a completely different level from the 2 old men in front of him. Dongfang Ji was the dean of the Sacred Institute, and his cultivation base was at least at the peak of the primal core stage. Yet the 2 old men in front of him were able to suppress Dongfang Ji. This showed that their cultivation base was probably infinitely close to the yin-yang stage. "This is my token. Senior Xian Ming, please open the stone door." After stopping, Hong Ji-jun took out a black token and handed it over respectfully with both hands. Seeing this, Ningyu, like Hong Ji-jun, took out the token and handed it over to the 2 old men. "Are you new?" One of the old men took the token from Ningyu and asked casually. Suddenly, the old man raised his eyebrows, and his eyes revealed a hint of seriousness. "What's wrong?" the other old man asked curiously. "Old Xian, take a look." The old man who spoke just now pointed at Ningyu. "Old Ming, what's there to be surprised about, huh?" The old man called Old Man Xian looked at Ningyu. Before he finished speaking, he revealed a shocked expression, just like Old Man Ming. "That's strange. There's actually no cyclone." Old Xian muttered to himself. Then, he shook his head and said, "No, he must have used some kind of superior concealment method to prevent us from seeing his cyclone. That's the only explanation. If there's no cyclone, then it's too abnormal," Old Ming said. Seeing the 2 old men staring at Ningyu, Hong Ji-jun hesitated and said, "Seniors, do you think we can open the stone door now?" The 2 old men used soul telepathy, so it was natural that Hong Ji-jun did not hear them. After all, the strength of Hong Ji-jun's soul power was much weaker than the 2 old men's. Slowly withdrawing their gazes, the 2 old men waved their hands at the same time. Suddenly, an extremely vigorous yuan qi filled the air, turning into beams of light that surged towards the stone door. Feeling the vigorous yuan qi undulations from the 2 old men, Ningyu's heart could not help but tremble. It seemed that he was right. The 2 old men's cultivation was already half a step into the yin-yang stage. Above the yuan dan stage was the yin-yang stage that many martial artists could not reach. Generally speaking, only by stepping into the yin-yang stage could one be considered to have officially begun to cultivate. This was because yin-yang stage martial artists could practice spatial techniques and control space to fight with their enemies. Unless it was a particularly abnormal Yuan dance stage martial artist, one had to reach the yin-yang stage in order to practice spatial techniques and control space energy to fight against enemies. Creak. Chapter 298. After the stone door opened, the two old men walked in first. Ning Yu and Hong Jijun looked at each other, then followed the old men into the stone door. Behind the stone door was a long tunnel, and there was a faint light in the tunnel. Upon closer inspection, it turned out that there were some top-grade origin crystals embedded on both sides. Not long after, the two old men stopped at a fork in the road. After stopping, Elder Xian said, "Do you want to enter the elixir pool or the martial pool? Make your choice." "Senior, I want to enter the elixir pool," Hong Jijun said without any hesitation. "Follow me." Elder Xian glanced at Hong Jijun, then walked towards the fork in the road on the left. "Senior, I want to enter the martial pool," Ning Yu said respectfully. "This way." Elder Ming entered the tunnel on the right. After walking for about 3 to 4 minutes, Elder Ming stopped in front of a secret room. He touched the door of the secret room for a while, and the door slowly opened. Compared to the tunnel just now, the secret room was a lot more spacious. There was a round pool in the middle of the secret room, and one could vaguely see wisps of white mist coming out of the pool. "This is the martial pool. You have 2 hours to cultivate inside. Once the time is up, you will naturally be ejected." As he spoke, Elder Ming came to the front of the pool and directly threw the black token into it. Sizzle. As soon as the black token came into contact with the liquid in the pool, it made a sizzling sound and directly turned into nothingness. "Senior, are you sure I can enter from here?" Seeing this, Ning Yu's eyes widened, and his face was filled with confusion. Although the black token's material was not very good, it was still relatively hard. The liquid in the pool was able to corrode it effortlessly. If he went in, wouldn't he end up like the token? Plop. At this moment, Ning Yu's body suddenly leaned forward, and with a plop, he jumped into the martial pool. "How troublesome," asking all sorts of questions. "I'll wait for you outside. We'll leave together in 2 hours." After kicking Ning Yu into the pool, Elder Ming muttered a few words before walking out of the secret chamber without looking back. As he looked at Elder Ming's back, Ning Yu cursed in his heart. "I must be more careful the next time I come in. I can't go out again." "Ah," Ning Yu muttered softly. However, before he could finish muttering, he let out a blood-curdling scream. Hiss! A cold, piercing pain swept through Ning Yu's entire body in an instant. The sudden change made Ning Yu temporarily forget about his hatred. He immediately circulated his essence to resist the piercing cold. Buzz! After a while, the piercing pain had yet to disappear. Ning Yu sensed that there was an incredible amount of pure energy surrounding his body. Moreover, this energy was surging wildly towards his body. "Let's fight!" Ning Yu immediately operated the spirit transformation technique. Suddenly, the essence chi around his body entered his body at an astonishing speed. Ning Yu had already cultivated the spirit transformation technique to the 4th layer. The speed at which he absorbed the essence chi was very fast. In addition, the energy here was pure. All he needed to do was to absorb it. Therefore, Ning Yu no longer had any worries as he unscrupulously absorbed the essence chi. Now that Ning Yu was in the early stage of the true martial realm, an hour was neither long nor short. Relying on the powerful absorption ability of the spirit transformation technique, Ning Yu believed that he could definitely advance to the middle stage of the true martial realm in an hour. However, Ning Yu was not in a hurry to advance to the middle stage of the true martial realm. Instead, he controlled the pure energy into the Golden Dawn, hoping that the Golden Dawn could split again. Once the 2 Golden Dawns split into 4, his fighting strength would increase by several times. At that time, even if he didn't use his soul power, he was confident that he could fight against Wei Zhe, or even defeat him. Bang bang. As time went on, The sound of explosions came from the golden dawn. Split. Clenching his fists, Ningyu bellowed and then operated the spirit transformation technique to the extreme. Bang, bang. However, no matter how hard Ningyu tried, the Golden Dawn were always on the verge of splitting and could not move forward at all. Damn it! Cursing in his heart, Ningyu's eyes revealed a determined look. He immediately squatted down and sank to the bottom of the martial pool. You win. Outside the secret chamber, Elder Ming saw Ningyu's actions through the gap in the door. The corner of his mouth twitched a few times as he gave Ningyu a thumbs up. Then, as if he didn't want to see Ningyu's miserable state, Elder Ming directly shut the door. It could be said that Elder Ming knew the martial pool like the back of his hand. Ordinary Xiantian, full-cycle martial artists could not enter the martial pool to cultivate. They could only submerge their feet inside. Early-stage true martial realm martial artists had it better, but they could only float on the surface of the martial pool. As for middle-stage and late-stage true martial realm martial artists, they could already submerge the liquid in the martial pool up to their abdomens. There were only 2 students in the Sacred Institute who could submerge their entire body into the martial pool. One was Zhang Tianwen. Relying on his strong physical strength, he could submerge his entire body into the martial pool when he was in the late-stage true martial realm. The other was the freak who ranked first on the alchemy list of the Sacred Institute. That freak's soul force was a little special, allowing her to submerge her body into the martial pool when she was in the early stage true martial realm. As for whether Ning, you could become the 3rd student, Elder Ming did not know. But he was very clear that Ning you would end up in a miserable state in the end. This was because both Zhang Tianwen and the freak who ranked first on the alchemy list were covered in injuries when they came out of the martial pool. They only recovered after lying in bed for a month. Swoosh! Swoosh! In a dense forest, 2 figures flew quickly. The strong airflow caused the surrounding trees to sway. If Ningyu was here, he would definitely notice that these 2 figures were not strangers. One was the Dark Emperor, and the other was the Red Devil. However, the situation of the 2 was obviously not optimistic. The Dark Emperor's hair was scattered, and there was even a very obvious knife wound on his abdomen, which was shocking. The Red Devil was not much better. His aura was weak, and the killing intent on his body had long disappeared. He could only rely on his instincts and perseverance to escape. Redskin, this time it's all my fault. I caused a big disaster. Looking back, the Dark Emperor gritted his teeth and said, I'll take care of the rear. You quickly go to the capital. As long as we find Ningyu, we still have a chance to survive. Black Dog, what nonsense are you talking about? Since I came to find you, I won't leave you alone. The Red Devil said in a deep voice, this matter can't be blamed on you. The He family's ancestor has been controlled by the experts of the Corpsine sect. They destroyed the He family, so it's understandable for you to chase after him. It's just that the expert of the Corpsine sect controlling the He family's ancestor is extremely cunning. He made a promise that if anyone can kill us, he will give the He family's property to that person. Moreover, he also took out a treasure that many people couldn't refuse. Otherwise, with the He family's small property, the second-rate family's ancestor would not personally take action. Chapter 299. Clap, clap, clap. After the figure appeared, he clapped his hands and said, a man and a dog. What a great combination. Looking at the elder before him, Hong Mo's eyes narrowed, and then he looked behind the elder. Where are the elders of the second-rate clans? If they don't come, you won't be able to defeat the 2 of us, Hong Mo said in a low voice. Hee, do you count as 2 people? The corner of the elder's lips curled up. At most, I'm half a person. Of course, that's if a dog counts as a person. As for the elders of the second-rate clans, they should be here soon. When they arrive, it will be your time of death. Actually, it's not impossible for you to live. As long as you are loyal to me, you can live. Redskin, why are you wasting time with him? This old man is stalling for time. Let's hurry and leave. The Emperor of the Dark World said anxiously. Hearing this, Hong Mo's expression changed. Not caring about anything else, he turned into a flying sword and flew into the distance. The Emperor of the Dark World moved, and a pair of purple gold wings appeared on his back. His speed was not much slower than Hong Mo's. Hong Mo and the Emperor of the Dark World's departure seemed to be within the Elder's expectations. He wasn't in a rush. Instead, he stared at their backs and mumbled, as expected, one is a purple gold sky devouring hound, and the other is a sword spiritual body. The purple gold sky devouring hound and the sword spiritual body are both nature-defying existences. Even though they are heavily injured, the instant they explode with combat ability shouldn't be weak. The elders of the second-rate clans must be the ones to take the lead. Whoosh! Just then, the sound of people flying through the air could be heard. Then, 3 figures landed before the elder. Patriarchy, where did the dog and the red-clothed man go? One of the men in gray asked. Don't worry, I've already marked them with a tracing mark. They can't run away. As he spoke, the elder stomped on the ground and dashed into the distance at a shocking speed. Hiss! Sensing the old man's incredible speed, the patriarchs of the 3 second-rate clans were shocked. They knew that family head's cultivation was far below theirs, but his speed was comparable to theirs. This was completely out of their expectations. Although they were puzzled, the 3 intermediate primal core stage practitioners did not think too much about it. Instead, they increased their speed to the maximum and gave chase. The Red Fiend and the Dark Emperor weren't slow. They could be described as flying. However, their bodies were heavily injured, so they couldn't hold on for too long. After flying for half an hour, they were getting closer and closer to the martial artist behind them. At this rate, they'll catch up to us sooner or later. As they flew, the Dark Emperor said, It's less than half a day from here to the capital. I'll stall them. You return to the capital immediately. No. Red Fiend flatly refused. What a joke. If he went back like this, wouldn't Ning Yu strangle him to death? Redskin, I'm a purple gold sky devouring hound. I have a trump card that you can't even dream of. The Dark Emperor said in a low voice, If I stay, I might be able to persist for half a day or even a day. If you stay, you will only be giving your life away. Listen to me. Head to the capital at full speed. As long as we find Ningyu, we still have a chance of survival. Rustle, rustle. While they were talking, the distance between the Dark Emperor and the 4 martial artists behind them narrowed a little. Hurry up and scram. Turning his head to look at the 4 approaching people, the Dark Emperor kicked the Red Fiend and shouted, I'll be waiting for you here. Don't disappoint me. Damn it. After being kicked by the Dark Emperor, the Red Fiend almost lost his balance and fell to the ground. However, the Red Fiend was not an indecisive person. After glancing at the Dark Emperor for a moment, he turned his head and did not hesitate to burn his spirit body to increase his speed. Ha ha, for old fogies, didn't you want to kill your royal grandfather? Your royal grandfather is standing here right now. Come on. With a loud laugh, the Dark Emperor's body grew several times larger, blocking the path of Patriarch He and the others. Patriarch Liu, go chase after that red-clothed man. No matter what method you use, you can't let him reach the capital. Standing on the spot, Patriarch He said gloomily, Once we finish off this damn dog, we'll look for you immediately. Understood. The man called Patriarch Liu nodded and immediately rose from the ground, wanting to pass by the Dark Emperor. Swish! However, how could the Dark Emperor let him leave? The Dark Emperor flapped the purplish gold wings on his back, and immediately, a powerful shock wave struck towards LV Quan's face. Insignificant skill. As a middle-stage Yuan dance stage warrior, LV Quan naturally did not take the Dark Emperor seriously. Facing the powerful shock wave, he only casually threw out a cold light. Chi-Chi. However, LV Quan had clearly underestimated the Dark Emperor's battle prowess. The cold light he threw out was dispersed the moment it came into contact with the shock wave. Then the powerful shock wave instantly arrived in front of him, and under his shocked gaze, it smashed into his chest. Bang! Pucci! LV Quan's body fell heavily to the ground, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Not only did his face turn pale, it was also devoid of blood. Seeing this, the remaining Yang Xiao and Chai Wei both took a step back, revealing expressions of retreat. The two of them had about the same battle prowess as LV Quan. LV Quan had been forced back by the Dark Emperor. If they were to make a move, it would definitely not be any better. Treasures were important, but if they lost their lives, treasures would be useless. Be careful. This damn dog must have used a secret technique to forcefully increase his strength. Based on my guess, he won't be able to hold out for long. Seeing that Yang Xiao and the rest were about to retreat, "Master," he shouted, "let's attack together. Let's get rid of this damn dog, and then find a man in red. As long as we can kill this damn dog, the benefits I promised you will be doubled." Whoosh! Hearing this, the expressions of Yang Xiao and the rest changed slightly. The benefits that Master he had promised them were enough. If it was doubled, it would reach a terrifying level. Humans die for wealth, just as birds die for food. After thinking for a second, Yang Xiao and the other two rose from the ground. In midair, Yang Xiao and the rest frantically cast their spells. All sorts of spells were accompanied by violent yuan qi. As if they were free, they attacked the Dark Emperor recklessly. Ha ha! To be able to have 3 middle yuan dance stage warriors and 1 early yuan dance stage warrior die with me. It's worth it. With a loud laugh, the Dark Emperor opened his mouth wide and instantly released a powerful suction force, sucking all the yuan qi in midair into his stomach. I like to see just how big your stomach is. With a cold huff, a small jade bottle silently appeared in Master He's sleeve. Then, he rose from the ground and joined the battle. At the same time, in Danwu College, Sacred Institute, Wu Qi's room. Whoosh! Ningyu leaped out of Wu Qi and jumped to the edge of the pool. Chapter 300. 2 hours have passed. That kid should be out by now. At the door of the secret chamber, Elder Ming frowned and murmured, "I'm afraid he will have to lie in bed for at least 3 months if he sinks to the bottom of the martial pool. I'd better go and help him. Who knows? He might be crawling over here right now." As he spoke, Elder Ming reached out and opened the door of the secret chamber. Creak! However, as soon as the door opened, Elder Ming stood rooted to the ground. He stared blankly at the familiar figure in front of him and asked hesitantly, Are you all right?" Ningyu felt a little awkward at Elder Ming's question. Looking at Elder Ming strangely, Ningyu said, "Elder, what could happen to me? How did you leave the martial pool?" Elder Ming frowned. "I only have 2 hours to cultivate in the martial pool. When the time is up, I will naturally be transported out." Ningyu asked suspiciously, "Elder, is there a problem?" "There's a problem, a big problem." Elder Ming's expression changed, and he said solemnly, "Follow me in." Ningyu was a little confused. Had Elder Ming lost his mind or something? Why did he still want to enter the secret chamber? Could it be that he had absorbed too much pure energy and was discovered by Elder Ming? At this thought, Ningyu could not help but panic. In these 2 hours, he had relied on the extremely strong absorption ability of the 4th level of the spirit transformation technique to not only advance to the middle stage of the martial pool, but even the illusory golden elixir in his consciousness had successfully split. In other words, there were now 4 illusory golden elixirs in his consciousness, and the energy contained in each was equivalent to that of a middle-stage primal core martial artist. On second thought, Ningyu felt relieved. The martial pool was originally for students to use, and there was a lot of pure energy inside. Once one side decreased, the other side would immediately replenish. Therefore, even with Elder Ming's remarkable abilities, he could not discover that the energy in the martial pool had decreased. "You little brat, jump into the pool again." Just as Ningyu was letting his imagination run wild, Elder Ming's voice rang in his ear, causing him to be a little dumbfounded. What was going on? He had just come out of the martial pool. Why did Elder Ming want him to jump in again? "Senior, I'll go in myself. I'll go in myself." Ningyu hurriedly took a step forward and leaped into the martial pool when he saw Elder Ming raise his right foot. Thump! As it was not his first time entering the martial pool, the bone-chilling cold in the martial pool did not affect Ningyu too much. Instead, he secretly used the spiritual transformation technique to absorb some pure energy. That's right. I still do not know what your name is. Old Ming nodded in satisfaction at Ning Yu's adaptability to circumstances. Ning Yu, Ning Yu replied. Ning Yu, sink to the bottom of the pool. Don't expose a single part of your body. Suddenly, Elder Ming changed the topic and berated. F***CK. Their faces change faster than the weather. Cursing in his heart, Ning Yu did not dare to show it on the surface. Instead, he held his breath and sank to the bottom of the pool. You're the one who told me to sink to the bottom. It shouldn't be too much for me to absorb some energy. Ning Yu, who was at the bottom of the pool, immediately used the spiritual transformation technique and began to absorb the pure energy from the bottom. Although he had divided the illusory golden core into 4, he had only filled 3 of them in 2 hours. There was still one illusory golden core that had not been filled up. Now was the right time to use this opportunity to fill up the illusory golden core. Creak! At this moment, the door of the secret room in the martial pool was opened again. Old Xian and Hong Jijun walked in. Old Ming, 2 hours have passed. Is that kid not out yet? Old Xian said as they walked. He did come out, but I let him in again. Old Ming said, You don't have a fever? Old Xian stretched out his palm and touched Old Ming's forehead. Then he said, He only has 2 hours. Why did you let him in again? Knocking off Old Xian's palm, Old Ming said, You should know that Ning Yu's cultivation is in the early stage of the martial arts realm. That's right. Old Xian nodded. If I tell you that in the past 2 hours, Ning Yu has been cultivating at the bottom of the martial pool, how would you feel? Old Ming said, How would I feel? Of course not. What? You said he has been cultivating at the bottom of the martial pool for the past 2 hours? Shaking his head, Old Xian suddenly seemed to think of something and said in surprise, Are you sure you're not lying to me? Why would I lie to you? You can see for yourself. Old Ming pointed at the martial pool. Hearing this, Old Xian looked at the martial pool. When he saw the bubbles rising from the bottom of the martial pool, he showed a look of disbelief. Then he asked Hong Jijun, When did Ning Yu enter the Sacred Institute? Why haven't I seen him in the Sacred Institute before? Being asked by Old Xian, Hong Jijun did not dare to be negligent and hurriedly said, Ning Yu just entered the Sacred Institute today. He won the token to enter the martial pool from Yi Tian. Yi Tian, you said that Ning Yu defeated Yi Tian in alchemy? Old Ming frowned. That's right. Ning Yu defeated Yi Tian in alchemy. Hong Jijun did not hide anything and told them everything he knew about Ning Yu. Hearing Hong Jijun's words, Old Ming and Old Xian fell into silence. Since the 2 seniors did not speak, Hong Jijun did not dare to breathe too loudly and stood still like a tree stump. After a short while, Elder Xian was the first to break the silence, and he said, There are a total of 3 core positions in the Sacred Institute. Since Dongfang Ji gave one to Ning Yu, it means that Ning Yu has some ability. Old Ming nodded and said, That's right. Based on the fact that he sank to the bottom of the martial pool to cultivate with his initial stage true martial realm cultivation, this spot should be given to him. What do we do now? According to the rules, Ning Yu can only stay in the martial pool for 2 hours. Old Xian frowned. Oomph. What rules? We've been guarding the Dan martial pool for so many years. Even if those people know about it, they won't say anything. Snorting coldly, Old Ming said in a deep voice, Today, I want to see how long Ning Yu can last at the bottom of the martial pool. Then, Old Ming sat cross-legged, as if he would not leave until Ning Yu came out. Old Ming sat cross-legged, and Old Xian did not leave either. However, Old Xian did not sit down. Instead, he stared at the martial pool and fell into deep thought. Seeing that the 2 seniors did not leave, Hong Jijun did not dare to leave either. He could only stand on the spot like a fool. Ning Yu is truly a freak. He can actually sink to the bottom of the martial pool. Recalling the miserable state when he first entered the martial pool, Hong Jijun could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Back then, when he first entered the martial pool, he could not wait to sink to the bottom. If it wasn't for Old Ming's reminder, he would definitely be bedridden for a few months. After coming out, he found out that in the entire Sacred Institute, only 2 people dared to completely sink to the bottom of the martial pool. Chapter 301. Ningyu cherished the opportunity to enter the martial pool without a token. As soon as his body entered the bottom of the martial pool, he immediately activated the spiritual transformation art and absorbed the pure energy in the pool. The martial pool had a special characteristic. It was impossible to sense the situation outside at the bottom, and it was impossible to sense the situation at the bottom of the martial pool from the outside. Therefore, Ningyu did not know what Elder Ming and the rest were doing, and Elder Ming and the rest did not understand Ningyu's current situation. Buzz. After about 15 minutes, Ningyu felt that the last illusory golden core was filled. He slowly stopped circulating the spiritual transformation art. Then, Ningyu exerted a little strength in his legs and rushed up. Splash! In an instant, Ningyu's head was the first to emerge from the pool. He's out. Although Elder Ming was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, his senses were constantly paying attention to the martial pool. When Ningyu's head emerged from the water, he suddenly stood up from the ground. However, he revealed a disappointed expression and said, "I originally thought that Ningyu could stay in there for 2 hours. Who would have thought that he would only stay for 15 minutes? Old Ming, 15 minutes is already very good." Elder Xian said, "You have to know that Ningyu stayed at the bottom of the martial pool for a full hour, just now." "That's right. I shouldn't have too much hope for him." Elder Ming returned to normal and said, Hearing the conversation between Elder Ming and Elder Xian, Ningyu was a little regretful. If he had known that Elder Ming would have such a reaction, he would have stayed at the bottom of the pool for a period of 8 to 10 days. Swish! In the next moment, Elder Ming's figure flashed and swept across the surface of the martial pool like a dragonfly. He grabbed Ningyu's shoulder with his right hand and pulled Ningyu out of the martial pool. Throwing Ningyu to the ground, Elder Ming said, "Time's up. You and Hong Jijun can leave on your own. Old Xian and I still have some things to do. Senior, please do what you need to do. We'll leave now." Hong Jijun signaled Ningyu with his eyes, then quickly left. Since there was no way to enter the martial pool again, Ningyu did not stay there. Instead, he followed behind Hong Jijun and left the secret chamber. "I've been holding it in for quite a while." Hong Jijun only heaved a sigh of relief after he left the stone door and revealed a relaxed expression. "These 2 seniors are really too powerful. I'm afraid even Din Dongfang is inferior to them. Indeed, they are indeed very powerful." Ningyu nodded. When he was in the early stage of the true martial realm, Ningyu could only vaguely feel the cultivation of the 2 seniors, but he was not sure about the specifics. Ever since he had advanced to the middle stage of the true martial realm, he could see the true cultivation of the 2 old men with just a glance. Half-step yin-yang realm. Both Elder Xian and Elder Ming had reached the half-step yin-yang stage and were only a step away from breaking through the limits of the primal core stage and advancing to the true yin-yang stage. From then on, the carp would leap over the dragon's gate and soar to the 9 heavens. Ningyu, after staying in the Dan pool for an hour, I have a feeling. Now I have to go back and cultivate. Do you want to go with me to the older students' area? Hong Jijun's soul force was at the peak of the 4th grade. This time, after staying in the Dan pool for an hour, he faintly felt that his soul force, which had not moved for a long time, was slightly trembling. In other words, he had a high chance of raising the peak of the 4th grade to the 5th grade. This was an opportunity that Hong Jijun naturally did not want to miss. "You go back. I have to go back to the new students' area first." Ningyu had a lot of things to do now. He had to return to the new students' area to ensure that Xikong Ling and the others were not harassed by Wen Yi. He also had to find Dongfang Ji and ask him to go to the Snow Pavilion in 4 days to help. With so many things pressing on him, Ningyu pondered for a moment and then rejected Hong Jijun. "All right then, I'll go back first. In the capital, if you have any problems, you can look for me. As long as I can help, I will definitely not decline." As he spoke, Hong Jijun hurriedly flew towards the older students' area. Ningyu did not stay here and hurried towards the new students' area. Swish! The new students' area was not too far from the Dan Marshall pool. In just a short moment, Ningyu arrived at the new students' arena. Yangyu, what are you doing here? Just as he stopped, Ningyu saw Yangyu running over from afar, panting heavily, his face full of anxiety. Ningyu, you're finally back. Hurry up and follow me to take a look. Seeing Ningyu, Yangyu instantly revealed a joyful expression and hurriedly said, any later, Xiao Yu and Si Kong Ling and the others would be in danger. What? Hearing this, Ningyu instantly released his aura and asked, just what is going on? It's when Yi and Wen Pai. Feeling the powerful aura emanating from Ningyu, Yang Yu's heart trembled. He gritted his teeth and said, when you were fighting in the older students' area, they didn't dare to make a move. When you and Hong Jijun went to the Danwu pool, when Yi and Wen Pai revealed their true nature and wanted to make a move on me and Yin Hui. Luckily, Xiao Yu and Si Kong Ling acted in time. Otherwise, Yin Hui and I would have definitely suffered heavy injuries. I'm afraid that Xiao Yu and the others won't be able to hold on for long. Therefore, I want to go to the Danwu pool and call you over to help. What about Feng Yuanzi? Why would he allow Wen Yi and Wen Pai to behave so atrociously in the freshman area? Ningyu asked in a deep voice. Feng Yuanzi has something to attend to, so he left first. Yang Yu said, otherwise, Wen Yi and Wen Pai would not dare to attack. Speed up. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu grabbed Yang Yu and raised his speed to the limit as he charged forward. Rumble. At this moment, in the middle of a courtyard in the freshman area, 4 martial artists were engaged in a fierce battle. Pa! Pa! 2 consecutive muffled sounds rang out. A man and a woman fell backward, landing heavily on the ground. Puchi! Puchi! Subsequently, the 2 martial artists spat out a mouthful of blood, their complexions turning pale. Winnie, how dare you? This is the freshman area, not a fair fighting arena. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Si Kong Ling shouted in a deep voice, you have already violated the rules of the Sacred Institute by making a move here. Hee, Si Kong Ling, are you muddled from the fever? With a faint smile, Winnie said, everyone's eyes are clear. I did not attack first. It was you and Xiao Yu who did not know what was good for you and attacked me and Wen Pai first. You, clenching her fists, Xiao Yu said angrily, if we did not stop them, Yin Hui and Yang Yu would have been killed. You are wrong, very wrong. I did not want to attack Yin Hui and Yang Yu just now. I have a few words to say to them. Shrugging his shoulders, Wen Yi said, who would have thought that you and Si Kong Ling, that hothead, would indiscriminately attack me? I was completely forced to injure you guys. Even if Vice Principal Fong was here, he wouldn't say anything. Wen Yi, aren't you afraid that Ningyu will come back and teach you a lesson? Xiao Yu scolded. Ningyu? I'm so scared that my whole body is trembling. As he spoke, Wen Yi's whole body began to tremble, his expression very exaggerated. Chapter 302. As you wish. As Wen Yi's voice fell, a voice rang in his ears. Hearing this extremely familiar voice, Wen Yi's expression changed, and he hurriedly turned his head to look. At the entrance of the courtyard, there were 2 familiar figures. One was Yang Yu, and the other was Ningyu. Swoosh! Ningyu landed in the middle of the courtyard in a flash and said calmly, as you wish, I'm here to die. As he spoke, Ningyu's aura burst out and pressed towards Wen Yi. Sha sha sha. Feeling Ningyu's powerful aura, Wen Yi's expression turned ugly and he immediately retreated. Suddenly, Ningyu raised his eyebrows and instantly retracted his aura. Come out. Don't you feel suffocated staying there? Cupping his fists, Ningyu looked toward a room to the east. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. From Ningyu's words, it seemed like there was someone in that room. Who's in there? I'm not sure, but it should be related to Wen Yi, or should I say, he's with Wen Yi. Yeah, Ningyu is so powerful, it's impossible that Wen Yi doesn't have a backup plan. Even if Wen Yi has a backup plan, it's impossible for him to defeat Ningyu. Ningyu is a powerful existence that can arm wrestle with Wei Zhe. Silence. After the discussion, there was a short silence in the entire courtyard. Everyone shifted their gaze towards the room that Ningyu was looking at. They also wanted to see who was in that room. Ha ha ha. The silence did not last long before it was broken by a loud laughter. Crack. The next moment, the wooden door was blasted open from the inside, and a figure dressed in black rushed out from inside. Ghost Blade Hand. The martial artist in black was extremely fast, appearing in front of Ning Yu almost in an instant. Moreover, the martial artist in black opened his hands and used an extremely strange method to slap towards Ning Yu's head. Ghost Blade Hand. Ning Yu's face was expressionless as he faced the black-clothed cultivator. When the palm was 10 centimeters away from his head, he raised his right hand and threw a backhand punch, which collided with the palm that was coming at him. Bang! After the strike, the black-clothed cultivator's expression changed drastically. He retreated a few steps before stabilizing himself. Peak of the true martial realm. Looking at the black-clothed cultivator in front of him, Ning Yu was somewhat astonished. Because the black-robed martial artist was at the peak of the true martial realm, and among this batch of freshmen, there was no martial artist at the peak of the true martial realm. Senior. The black-clothed martial artist was definitely a senior. If I'm not wrong, you should be the warrior ranked first on the battle list of the Sacred Institute. Ning Yu's voice sounded slowly in the courtyard. Ghostly, Walla. Ning Yu's words immediately caused a huge uproar. He is ghostly? The one ranked first on the Sacred Institute's combat rankings. According to Ning Yu, he should be. Ghostly is a freak. It's said that his strength has already reached the peak. While discussing, the crowd was very confused. In Danwu College, the two geniuses who controlled the Overlord's Sacred Institute's combat list and the Sacred Institute's alchemy list had always been elusive. Very few martial artists had ever seen them. Why was one so powerful that he could invite Ghostly? Haha, Zhang Tianwen told me that there is another core disciple of the Sacred Institute, and he is very strong. Ghostly smiled and said, I didn't believe it at first, but now that I've seen you, I finally understand that it's not a coincidence that you became a core disciple. You have some skills. Ghostly, this is between me and Wen-Yi. I hope you won't interfere, Ningyu said in a low voice. Although they were evenly matched in a previous strike, Ningyu knew that Ghostly was not weak. He had no grudge against Ghostly. If Ghostly gave up, it would naturally be good. After all, having one more friend was better than having one more enemy. Shaking his head, Ghostly said, Don't worry, I won't kill you. At most, I will make you lie in bed for a few months. With your strength, I'm afraid it will be very difficult to make me lie in bed for a few months. After pondering for a moment, Ningyu said indifferently, Let Zhang Tianwen come out. I don't have extra time to waste with you guys. Hearing Ningyu's words, Ghostly's expression finally changed. His eyes revealed extreme shock. Ningyu could actually discover Zhang Tianwen, who was hiding in the surroundings. Was it a wild guess, or did he really discover him? I alone am enough to deal with you. After a short moment of shock, Ghostly's eyes turned cold. He rose from the ground and once again charged towards Ningyu. Oomph. Stubborn fool. Seeing that Ghostly did not know what was good for him, Ningyu was also a little angry. When he came out of the Danwu pool, the semicircular pendant couldn't help but tremble. The Red Devil's body was in the semicircular pendant. The pendant's change meant that the Red Devil was most likely in danger. The Red Devil and the Dark Emperor were together. If the Red Devil was in danger, the Dark Emperor would definitely not be any better. Of all times, Ghostly came out to cause trouble. Absolute sword wave. The essence chi in his sea of consciousness rumbled and instantly poured into the soul-severing sword. Following that, Ningyu leaped up and floated in the air. With a low shout, a powerful sword wave separated from the soul-severing sword and blasted at Ghostly. Right now, Ningyu was in the middle stage of the true martial realm. The illusory golden core in his sea of consciousness had also split into 4. Furthermore, the essence chi in each illusory golden core was comparable to a middle-stage primal core martial artist. Correspondingly, the absolute sword wave that Ningyu executed this time was much more powerful than Wei Zhe's. Not good. Originally, Ghostly thought that he could easily defeat Ningyu. Who would have thought that in just the second move, he would feel his heart palpitate and want to retreat? However, after dominating the Sacred Institute's combat list for so long, Ghostly naturally would not choose to admit defeat. He waved his hands quickly, faster and faster. In the end, several illusory palms appeared and blasted towards the huge sword wave. Chi. However, the palms that Ghostly had blasted out were obviously unable to withstand the absolute sword wave. As soon as the palms came into contact with the absolute sword wave, they were blasted apart. Swoosh! Immediately, the absolute sword wave gradually expanded in Ghost Li's eyes and instantly arrived in front of him. Zhang Tianwen, why aren't you coming out? Ghostly shouted at the critical moment. Boom! In the next moment, a room next to him suddenly exploded and a figure dashed out from inside. This figure was extremely fast. As soon as Ghostly shouted, he appeared in front of Ghost Li and blasted out a palm that collided with the absolute sword wave. Bang! The two collided and a low muffled sound was heard. Then, the absolute sword wave slowly dissipated. Seeing that the absolute sword wave had been blasted apart, Ningyu's pupils shrank slightly. Although he had only used 80% of his strength, the power of the absolute sword wave was still very strong. Unless one had the strength of a middle-stage primal core cultivator, it would be very difficult to break it apart with one palm. Half a step to primal core realm. Chapter 303. Compared to Ningyu's shock, Zhang Tianwen was even more shocked to the extreme. Although he easily blocked Ningyu's absolute sword wave, Zhang Tianwen could feel that the power of the absolute sword wave that Ningyu displayed this time was much stronger than before. If he had not advanced to half-step Yuan Dan realm, it would have been very difficult for him to resist this absolute sword wave. Ningyu, I didn't expect you to advance from the initial stage of the true martial realm to the middle stage of the true martial realm. Your strength has increased so much. After the shock, Zhang Tianwen said in a deep voice, This is all thanks to you. If not for devouring 1/10 of your soul force, I wouldn't have been able to advance to the middle stage of the true martial realm so quickly. Ningyu regained his composure and said indifferently. Hearing this, Zhang Tianwen's face instantly turned gloomy. His purpose for coming here this time was very clear, and that was to teach Ningyu a lesson and take revenge for the time when his soul force was devoured. If not for the devouring of his soul force, he wouldn't have used a secret method to advance to half-step Yuan Dan realm. Pulling a seedling to help it grow at this time was not the slightest bit beneficial to his future growth. Since you are so arrogant, then leave a hand behind. Zhang Tianwen took a step forward and revealed his aura as he said gloomily, Silence. Silence. Zhang Tianwen's words caused the martial artists in this area to quiet down. Although Zhang Tianwen had advanced a half-step Yuan Dan realm and was very strong, Ningyu wasn't weak either. Moreover, Ningyu is the same as Zhang Tianwen. They were both core disciples. Zhang Tianwen actually wanted to cripple one of Ningyu's hands here. Wasn't he looking down on the rules of the Sacred Institute too much? Zhang Tianwen, this is not the senior student area. You dare to make a move here? Aren't you afraid of the dean punishing you? Xiaoyu said coldly. To me, there is no such thing as a new and senior student area. With a slight smile, Zhang Tianwen said, I can go to all the areas of the Sacred Institute. The moment the word yes fell, Zhang Tianwen's aura suddenly erupted and pressed towards Ningyu without a care for his life. Go. Everyone leave quickly. That's right. Let's leave quickly. A battle of this level must be watched from afar. Also, inform the dean immediately. Zhang Tianwen is a senior student. How dare he come to the freshman area to behave atrociously? We must let the dean know. Voila! The moment Zhang Tianwen made his move, The surrounding students immediately left the courtyard. They were not fools, and they naturally knew the gap between them and Ningyu and Zhang Tianwen. With their strength, staying here was no different from throwing their lives away. Xiaoyu, let's leave quickly, Xikong Ling said anxiously. Let's go. Xiaoyu clenched her fists and said through gritted teeth. Although she was worried about Ningyu, Xiaoyu knew that she wouldn't be of much help if she stayed. On the contrary, she would only add to the chaos. Moreover, from the strength that Ningyu displayed just now, it was not that easy for Zhang Tianwen to defeat Ningyu. What she needed to do was to inform the director immediately. In an instant, there were only 3 people left in the courtyard. Ningyu, Zhang Tianwen, Ghostly. However, Ghostly had already jumped onto the roof. His cultivation was only at the peak of the true martial realm, so he didn't dare to stay in the battlefield. As for Zhang Tianwen, his fists carried bursts of yuan qi wind as he took a step forward and rushed towards Ningyu. Qi. Zhang Tianwen's speed was very fast, so fast that the friction between his fist and the air produced a qi sound. Soul attack technique. Feeling the faint soul fluctuation emitted from Zhang Tianwen's fist, Ningyu was slightly surprised, but he didn't show it. Instead, he quickly formed a hand seal. Underworld dominating palm. Along with this shout, a palm print that was not any weaker than Zhang Tianwen's attack appeared in the air. Kacha! The fist and the palm collided, and suddenly a cracking sound was heard. Then, Ningyu and Zhang Tianwen both took a few steps back before they could stabilize their bodies. I have to say, your strength has increased so fast. It is beyond my expectations. After the attack, Zhang Tianwen didn't continue to attack. He stood still and said coldly, "You didn't expect this, right? My soul force has also advanced to the peak of the 4th grade. Indeed, I didn't expect this," Ningyu said indifferently, "but the strength of a peak of the 4th grade, I still don't care about it." As he spoke, Ningyu took out the soul-severing sword and held it in his hand. The soul-severing sword contained half of Wei Zai's soul force. If it devoured the other half of Zhang Tianwen's soul force, Ningyu was confident that he could increase the strength of his soul force to the 5th grade. As long as his soul force increased to the 5th grade, Ningyu could practice the 5th form of the Netherworld Samsara Palm. The power of the 5th form of the Netherworld Samsara Palm compared to the previous 4 forms had an earth-shattering change. Ningyu, do you think I'm here to play with you? I, Zhang Tianwen, will definitely take back what I've lost. Previously, when his soul force had been devoured by Ningyu, Zhang Tianwen felt extremely humiliated and didn't tell anyone. This time, his soul force had advanced to the peak of the 4th grade, and he had waited for such a good opportunity to devour his soul force back. Before coming, he had already investigated and found that there were no Yuan dance stage elders in the new students area. Therefore, even if he devoured Ningyu's soul force here, no one would know. Ghostly set up the formation. In the next moment, Zhang Tianwen shouted loudly and unleashed his speed to the limit, darting back and forth in this courtyard. Ghostly, who was on the roof, waved his sleeves repeatedly, and 4 flags were thrown out, inserted into the 4 corners of the courtyard. After a while, Zhang Tianwen and Ghostly stopped at the same time. What's going on? Why is the courtyard blocked by the fog? Not only does this fog block our vision, but even our soul force can't enter at all. It should be an array. When the black fog enveloped the courtyard, the expressions of the new students outside the courtyard changed drastically. Among them, there were people whose soul force had reached the peak of the 3rd grade, but the soul force of the peak of the 3rd grade could not even get close to the edge of the fog. Spirit restraining formation. In the middle of the courtyard, Ningyu stood on the spot, cupped his fists, and looked at Zhang Tianwen with interest. If I'm not wrong, you set up the spirit restraining formation to devour my soul force. Swoosh! At this moment, Ghostly landed beside Zhang Tianwen. Moreover, in Ghostly's hand, there was a gray cloth bag. Ningyu, this cloth bag is a middle heaven-level cloth bag. It can devour everything. The corner of Ghost Li's mouth curled up, and he said, "As long as you dare to use your soul force, it will devour your soul force." "Ningyu, I'll give you a chance now." Zhang Tongwen seemed to have a card up his sleeve, took a step forward, and laughed sinisterly. "As long as you obediently let your soul force enter the divine rune cloth bag, I can spare your life and not destroy your sea of consciousness." Chapter 304. Stubborn Fool. With a cold snort, Zhang Tianwen charged at Ningyu. After advancing to the half-step Yuan Dan realm, Zhang Tianwen's strength had increased by several times. Whoosh! His body flew through the air, bringing with it a strong gust of wind. Ningyu was not too afraid of Zhang Tianwen. What he feared now was the divine rune pouch in Ghost Li's hand. The divine rune bag was a heaven-grade magic treasure. More accurately speaking, it was a devouring magic treasure like the soul-breaking sword. However, the soul-breaking sword could also be used against enemies other than devouring soul power. The divine rune bag only had one function, and that was to devour soul power. I have to get rid of the divine rune bag first. Ningyu rolled his eyes and came up with a countermeasure. With a flick of his wrist, the soul-breaking sword appeared in his hand. Ningyu stabbed out, and a sword wave was formed, blasting at Zhang Tianwen. Child's play. Zhang Tianwen seemed to have expected the sword wave from Ningyu and casually waved a cold light to disperse it. At the same time, Zhang Tianwen had already appeared in front of Ningyu. Dan waved fist. With a low shout, Zhang Tianwen quickly punched out. A pale green energy appeared on his fist, gradually magnifying in Ningyu's eyes. Seeing such a powerful punch from Zhang Tianwen, Ningyu's eyes narrowed. In the next moment, the azure spiritual fire in his sea of consciousness flew out and wrapped around his fist. The pale purple flame danced continuously. Then, Ningyu punched out, colliding with Zhang Tianwen's fist. Crack! When the two fists collided, a crisp sound rang out. Swoosh! Swoosh! Then, the two figures separated as soon as they touched. Ningyu took a few steps back before stabilizing himself. As for Zhang Tianwen, he stood on the spot, not retreating at all. Although he did not retreat, compared to Ningyu, Zhang Tianwen's face was livid and extremely ugly, because that cracking sound came from his fist. Lowering his head to look at his bloody fist, Zhang Tianwen's chest heaved up and down. He was on the verge of exploding in rage. He had suffered at the hands of Ningyu over and over again. He had to get back at him. "Ningyu, you have completely infuriated me." Taking a deep breath, Zhang Tianwen calmed down and said indifferently, "Those who anger me never have a good ending. You're not the only one who's been angered by me. If everyone said that to me, wouldn't I be very tired?" Ningyu stretched out a finger, shook it, and said, "You are not my match. Better let Ghost Li fight, or else after 3 moves, you will be dead." "Ha ha!" Zhang Tianwen laughed wildly as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Immediately, his tone changed, and he said coldly, "Even a mid-primal core stage warrior can forget about defeating me in 3 moves. You are not qualified. Maybe you don't know, but before I came here, I sparred with Wei Zhe. As a mid-primal core stage warrior, he did not last 3 moves against me." Zhang Tianwen continued with a smile. "Wei Zhe did not last 3 moves against you, but that is understandable. There is nothing to brag about." After some thought, Ningyu decided not to tell Zhang Tianwen about Wei Zhe. If Zhang Tianwen knew that he had swallowed half of Wei Zhe's soul power, who knew what he would think? Wei Zhe, who had lost half of his soul power, could be easily defeated by Zhang Tianwen in 3 moves. There is nothing to brag about. Aren't you afraid of biting off your tongue? Zhang Tianwen's expression was a little exaggerated as he said coldly, "I will let you know what it feels like to be angered by a mid-primal core stage warrior. Noisy." However, before Zhang Tianwen could finish speaking, Ningyu summoned his phantom armor and rushed out with the soul-severing sword in hand. However, Ningyu's target was not Zhang Tianwen, but Ghost Li, who was on the other side. The God Rune bag was always a problem, and Ningyu did not want the bag to interfere when he was swallowing Zhang Tianwen's soul power. Therefore, he had to get the God Rune bag. Even if he could not get it, he had to destroy it. Ghostly, protect the God Rune bag. Zhang Tianwen was originally prepared to fight with Ningyu, but when he saw Ningyu turn around and rush towards Ghostly, he instantly understood. Ningyu did not want to fight with him, but wanted to take the God Rune bag. It won't be that easy to take the God Rune bag from my hands. Ghostly was not a pushover, and the fact that he was able to dominate the first rank of the Overlord Sacred Institute for so long was enough to prove that he had some skills. Although he was not as strong as Ningyu, he had many hidden cards. I'll let you have a taste of the power of an explosive bomb. Ghostly sneered and waved his sleeves, and in an instant, 3 explosive bombs flew towards Ningyu. Chi. The explosive bombs were about the size of a fist, and they were black in color, emitting a black mist. Oomph! How dare you take an explosive bomb head-on? You should know your place first. Ghostly snorted, as if he could see Ningyu's face after being hit by the explosive bombs. What happened in front of him was indeed within Ghost Li's expectations. The 3 explosive bombs hit Ningyu's chest. However, there was one thing that puzzled him. Why didn't the explosive bombs explode? Logically speaking, when an explosive bomb hit a cultivator's body, it would explode on its own. The power of the explosion was enough to severely injure a half-step Yuan Dan cultivator. What? However, in the next moment, Ghostly screamed as if he had seen a ghost. This was because he saw the 3 explosive bombs pass through Ningyu's body and hit Zhang Tianwen. After image, very quickly, Ghostly reacted. The explosive bombs did not hit Ningyu, but instead passed through Ningyu's afterimage. Boom, boom, boom. At the same time, the 3 explosive bombs exploded in front of Zhang Tianwen. If Zhang Tianwen had not been prepared, he would have been blasted into a fool. Ghostly, I didn't expect you to be on my side. At this moment, Ningyu had already appeared in front of Ghostly and said with a smile, if that's the case, then give me the divine rune cloth bag. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Ningyu's body immediately retreated. Looking down at his empty hands, Ghostly opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but he was stunned on the spot. The divine rune cloth bag was taken away by Ningyu. Why is Ningyu so fast? Why is he so fast? At this moment, these few words kept echoing in Ghostly's mind. He still could not figure out how Ningyu's speed was so fast that even he, who was at the peak of the true martial realm, did not know when Ningyu had taken away the divine rune cloth bag. Ghostly, you piece of trash. Seeing the divine rune cloth bag being taken away by Ningyu, Zhang Tianwen could not help but curse. You can't do anything right. Zhang Tianwen was a little regretful. If he had known this would happen, he would have borrowed the divine rune cloth bag and used it himself. Now, without the divine rune cloth bag, it would be harder than ascending to heaven for him to devour Ningyu's soul force. With an extremely gloomy expression, Zhang Tianwen waved his sleeve, and suddenly a black flying sword appeared in his hand. Chapter 305. Kaboom! The moment the shocking sword gleam struck out, the space seemed to tremble slightly. Then, Zhang Tianwen leaped up and turned into a shadow, charging straight at Ningyu. Absolute sword wave. With a low roar, Ningyu struck out a sword wave with his backhand, colliding with the black demon sword gleam in midair. Not long ago at Danwu College's fighting ring, Ningyu had already seen the power of the black demon sword gleam. The difference was that Ningyu had used the 6th form of the supreme 9 purities sword technique, solitaire. This time, he used the 5th form, absolute sword wave. Sha. As soon as the absolute sword wave and the black demon sword gleam came into contact, Ningyu realized the seriousness of the problem. He hurriedly waved the soul-severing sword and struck out several more absolute sword waves. Chi. With several consecutive absolute sword waves, he managed to block Zhang Tianwen's black demon sword gleam. At this moment, Zhang Tianwen's speeding figure appeared in front of Ningyu, and the black demon sword suddenly pierced towards Ningyu's heart. This sword was very fast and powerful, and the blade was even emitting traces of green corrosive gas. If Ningyu was unlucky enough to be pierced, even if he did not die, he would still end up crippled. Phantom armor. At this critical moment, Ningyu hurriedly controlled the phantom armor and unleashed its speed to the extreme. Even though the phantom armor could instantly explode with the speed of a mid-stage primal core warrior, it could only barely dodge the black demon sword. Not bad. I didn't expect you to be so fast. The corner of Zhang Tianwen's mouth curled up, and he laughed coldly. I want to see how long you can maintain this speed. With that, Zhang Tianwen controlled the black demon sword again and attacked Ningyu. Swish! Swish! In midair, two figures, one in front and one behind, were chasing each other nonstop. The one behind was Zhang Tianwen, who held the black demon sword in his hand and continuously slashed out sword gleams. The figure in front was naturally Ningyu. At this time, Ningyu had even put away the absolute soul sword and was focused on escaping. After a quarter of an hour, Zhang Tianwen shouted coldly, "Do you only know how to run?" Whoosh! Suddenly, Ningyu stopped. With a flick of his wrist, he took out the absolute soul sword and held it in his hand. Buzz! What was different from before was that the soul-severing sword seemed to want to leave Ningyu's palm and made a trembling sound. Moreover, the vibrations were getting stronger and stronger. In the end, the absolute soul sword suddenly broke away from Ningyu's hand. Not only was Ningyu not surprised when the absolute soul sword left his hand, he even shouted in a low voice, "Zhang Tianwen, now I'll let you see what a true sword art is. Walala." The next moment, under Zhang Tianwen's shocked gaze, the absolute soul sword trembled in midair. The severing soul sword was not vibrating aimlessly. Instead, it was vibrating with a unique rhythm. Solitary sword wave. Seeing the absolute soul sword vibrating to a certain extent, three words slowly sounded in Ningyu's heart. Swoosh! Immediately after, a substantial sword wave broke away from the absolute soul sword. Compared to the absolute sword wave, this substantial sword wave had several sword wave phantoms around it. With so many phantom sword waves gathered together, Zhang Tianwen couldn't tell which one was the real one. Black Demon Sword Aura. Facing the approaching solitaire, Zhang Tianwen immediately mobilized the primordial chi in the illusory golden core and injected it into the black demon sword. Then, he waved the black demon sword again and again. Suddenly, several black demon sword auras attacked and blasted at solitaire. Relying on the black demon sword auras alone can't withstand my solitaire. Looking at the sword auras and sword waves that were about to collide, Ningyu couldn't help but murmur. Ever since he advanced to the middle stage of the true martial realm and the illusory golden core split into four, Ningyu faintly felt that solitaire wasn't simple. Solitaire should be divided into several realms. Superficial, initial success, middle success, greater success, and ultimate realm. If Ningyu didn't guess wrongly, he had only cultivated solitaire to the initial success realm. There was still a long way to go before he reached the middle success realm. Although he hadn't cultivated solitaire to the middle success realm, the primordial chi in Ningyu's body had increased, which naturally increased the power of solitaire. It was impossible for Zhang Tianwen, who was half a step into the primordial core realm, to withstand solitaire without going through a lot of trouble. Chi chi chi. At this moment, Zhang Tianwen's black demon sword auras had already clashed with solitaire in midair. The power of the black demon sword auras was extremely strong. Almost at the instant they came into contact with solitaire, they dispersed the illusory sword auras. However, every time an illusory sword ripple was dispersed, an illusory sword ripple would sweep out from Gu Jianbao's body, maintaining the number of illusory sword ripples. Damn it! Damn it! Seeing this situation, Zhang Tianwen couldn't help but curse. Solitaire was like a bottomless pit. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't completely disperse solitaire. Dark Tyrant Palm. Naturally, Ningyu wouldn't waste time with Zhang Tianwen here. The peak 4th grade soul force in his body poured out in full force and wrapped around his palm. Immediately, Ningyu flipped his wrist and fanned out a tangible palm print. Soul force, come out. Seeing the dark tyrant palm approaching him, Zhang Tianwen clenched his teeth and immediately mobilized the soul force in his body, hoping to resist the attack of the dark tyrant palm. Zhang Tianwen knew that the dark tyrant palm was a soul attack, but he didn't care at all. After all, his soul force had also increased to the peak 4th grade. As expected, top single. Ningyu flipped his wrist, and a strong suction force came out, trying to devour Zhang Tianwen's soul force. Hee hee. Ningyu, I knew you would do this. Smiling, Zhang Tianwen retracted his soul force. Zhang Tianwen wasn't an idiot. On the fighting stage, Ningyu had absorbed 1/10 of his soul force, so he had to be careful. If he was defeated by the same move twice, he would probably find a piece of tofu to kill himself. Zhang Tianwen, I have to say you are very smart. Ningyu didn't mind. The suction force on his palm disappeared instantly. He said calmly, but sometimes being smart can be the opposite of being smart. Being smart can be the opposite of being smart. Let me retract my soul force into my body. Let's see if you can still. However, before Zhang Tianwen could completely retract his soul force into his body, he saw something terrifying. The soul-severing sword had appeared in front of him, and a strong suction force exploded from it, absorbing all the soul force that he couldn't retract in time. Ningyu, how dare you devour my soul force? Losing half of his soul force in an instant, Zhang Tianwen couldn't help but shout. It's not good to be distracted now. While Zhang Tianwen was slightly distracted, the solitaire in midair suddenly sped up, and with a shocking speed, it flew towards him. Looking at the approaching solitaire, Zhang Tianwen's pupil shrank, revealing a horrified expression, and his body immediately retreated. However, Zhang Tianwen's retreating speed was obviously too slow. He had only taken a few steps back when the solitaire stabbed into his chest. A pig-slaughtering scream rang out in the courtyard. Chapter 306. What's going on? Who is the one who screamed? Judging from a voice, it should be Zhang Tianwen. Could it be that Ningyu defeated Zhang Tianwen? Voila! When the last sentence was said, the eyes of the crowd in front of the courtyard were all wide open. Their faces were filled with disbelief. If Ningyu defeated Ghostly, they would still believe it. Defeated Zhang Tianwen? They didn't believe it. After all, Zhang Tianwen was a half-step Yuan Dan martial artist. How could Ningyu, who was only in the middle stage of the true martial realm, be his match? Zhang Tianwen, I told you you're not my match. Sheathing the soul-severing sword, Ningyu said indifferently, now that things have come to this, you only have yourself to blame. You can't blame anyone else. Winner takes all. Whatever you say now is right. Zhang Tianwen's face was filled with malice as he said coldly, don't be too happy. I lost to you this time, but you won't be so lucky next time. Stubborn. As he spoke, Ningyu changed the topic and said coldly, do you think I don't dare to kill you? In the next moment, a monstrous killing intent surged from Ningyu. How many people have you killed? Why do you have such a heavy killing intent? Feeling the monstrous killing intent from Ningyu, Zhang Tianwen revealed a terrified expression. As a core disciple of the Sacred Institute, he had participated in many trials and killed at least 80 demonic beasts and martial artists. But the killing intent from his body, compared to the current Ningyu, was like heaven and earth, completely incomparable. Leaving him alive will always be a hidden danger. Although I can't kill him here, I can still do something to him. Ningyu rolled his eyes and thought of a countermeasure. Towards his enemies, Ningyu always killed them. But Zhang Tianwen was different. He couldn't be killed, at least not in the Sacred Institute. Zhang Tianwen was not only a core disciple, but also the last disciple of Dan Chenzi. If he was killed here, the consequences would be unimaginable. As a ninth-grade pinnacle alchemist in his previous life, Ningyu had 100 ways to slowly kill Zhang Tianwen without anyone noticing. You can only blame yourself for provoking him. Oh no! However, just as Ningyu was about to slap Zhang Tianwen, his expression changed, and he immediately retreated. Voila! At this moment, the fog covering the courtyard quickly dispersed, and two figures suddenly landed in the middle of the courtyard. Dean, why are you here? Seeing the two familiar figures suddenly appear, Ningyu's heart shuddered. The murderous aura on his body instantly disappeared without a trace. If I don't come, you're going to overturn the heavens. Wei Zhe hurriedly ran to Zhang Tianwen's side and helped him up. Then, Wei Zhe turned to Ningyu and berated. Ignoring the rules of the Sacred Institute, you first caused trouble in the older students' area, and now you're causing trouble in the new students' area. A student like you should be punished. Hearing that, Ningyu's face instantly darkened. Wei Zhe, you old fool. I gave you face, but you don't want it? Open your dog eyes wide and see who's causing trouble here. Ningyu's anger instantly surged, and he snorted coldly. You're so protective of Zhang Tianwen. Is he your illegitimate son? You're really pissing me off. Wei Zhe's face turned livid after being scolded by Ningyu, and his body trembled in anger. Old fool, are you very cold? If you're cold, you should hurry back and start a fire to warm yourself, lest you spend the rest of your life lying on the bed. Ningyu shrugged and said calmly, All right, now isn't the time to talk about this. Seeing that Wei Zhe was about to make a move, Dongfang Ji waved his hand and said, Bring Zhang Tianwen and Ghostly back. Without my permission, the two of them absolutely can't take a step out of the Sacred Institute. Violators will be punished according to the rules of the Sacred Institute. Dongfang Ji's last sentence contained a great, imposing manner, and it pressured Wei Zhe to the point that he was slightly unable to breathe. Let's go. Glaring fiercely at Ningyu, Wei Zhe left the courtyard with Zhang Tianwen as if he was fleeing. As for Ghostly, he hurriedly followed. Outside the courtyard, when everyone saw Wei Zhe and Zhang Tianwen, their faces revealed astonished expressions. Why did Zhang Tianwen and Zhang Tianwen leave? Xiao Yu asked in puzzlement. Haha, could it be that you didn't see Wei Zhe and Zhang Tianwen's expressions? If nothing unexpected happens, this battle will end with Ningyu's victory. Xikong Ling heaved a long sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. From a moment he saw Wei Zhe's face that was like a pig's liver, Xikong Ling knew that Ningyu had won, and he'd won beautifully. Ningyu won? Then let's go in quickly, Xiao Yu hurriedly said. Xikong Ling's figure flashed and blocked Xiao Yu's path. He said, There's no hurry. Right now, Dean Dongfang is inside. He should have something to say to Ningyu. Let's go in later. At the same time, in the courtyard, Dongfang Ji was somewhat speechless. With a slightly reproachful tone, he said to Ningyu, Didn't I tell you not to be so impulsive when you see Wei Zhe in the future? You just wouldn't listen. He's gone too far. I've already restrained myself by treating him like this. From Dongfang Ji's words, Ningyu could tell that Dongfang Ji also had a grudge against Wei Zhe, so he was no longer worried. Don't worry, I'll settle this matter for you. Dongfang Ji was somewhat helpless as he said, The most important thing right now is to cultivate. Strive to advance your cultivation to the peak of the martial school tournament, or even the half-step Yuan Dan realm before it arrives. Dean, the matter of the 100 Academy tournament can be put aside for now. Right now, I have a favor to ask of you, Ningyu said in a deep voice. Tell me about it, Dongfang Ji said with a raised eyebrow. In 4 days, I hope. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu's expression changed drastically before he could finish his sentence. This was because he realized that the semicircular pendant in his storage ring was shaking violently. The red devil is nearby, and it's dangerous. With his heart thumping, Ningyu hurriedly said to Dongfang Ji, Dean, I'll leave first. I'll be back as soon as possible. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Ningyu rose from the ground. His body turned into a shadow and disappeared in the blink of an eye. What's making him so anxious? Looking at Ningyu's back, Dongfang Ji was in a dilemma. He wanted to see what Ningyu was up to, but something big was happening in the capital, and he could not leave. With Ningyu's strength, as long as it's not a late Yuan Dan realm martial artist, no one should be able to do anything to him. After thinking for a while, Dongfang Ji still did not follow. The fact that Ningyu was able to defeat Zhang Tianwen and Wei Zhe was enough to prove his strength. Moreover, it was not appropriate for him to interfere in Ningyu's matters. After some thought, Dongfang Ji floated in midair. His voice carried a faint fluctuation of vitality as he said in a clear voice, "In a month, there will be a major assessment in the Sacred Institute. This assessment is related to the 100 Academy tournament. Whoever stands out in this assessment will have the opportunity to represent Danwu College in the 100 Academy tournament." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.